Welcome to Book Club Yappening, a podcast where we discuss every and all things we've read and some of us haven't read, in a safe place where we can yap about life in general. In the description, you'll find links to our Fable, Instagram, and Discord accounts. Please follow for more yapping in different styles. For a warning, we will 100% be spoiling this book, so please pause, go read, and come back to yap. Read the trigger warnings before continuing on. Welcome back to the Yappening. Today, we continue our pride journey.
Yes, pride. Very excited. Nick, tell us about your pins.
He, him, because pronouns. Basic English, learn it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, women, which I just thought in general was a wonderful sentiment, and I'm pretty sure it's from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but...
I'm not a wimpy kid, so I wasn't allowed.
I don't have a diary.
That's
I'm
true.
a wimpy kid. I didn't know how to read.
But you know who has a diary? Flora. And today we will be doing the Book of Flora by Meg Elison. So it is the final chapter of The Road to Nowhere. And then obviously I'm the host, so check your trigger warnings, especially if you need to do those things. Just always also grab a snack, because obviously this is about to be a 3-hour journey against everyone's will.
I was going to say grab a drink.
Yep.
Go take a potty break.
Yeah, get your potties, do your snacks, hydrate. All right. Picture it. The island of Banbridge, approximately 2174. It is about 40-ish years after the events of the Book of Edda, like 40 and some change-ish. Flora tells us that she dreamt of nowhere last night. She tells us that this is where she met Alice with the impossible curls and cruel, clever mouth. She tells us that this is where Eddie brought her, whom she lost in the end. And she tells us that her dream of nowhere was beautiful. She saw Ina, younger than Flora had ever known her. Ina was close to giving birth to Eddie in the dream. Flora also saw Connie, her living child. Connie, neither boy nor girl, neither breeder nor horsewoman, always they. Flora tells us that she's not sure what Connie has seen on their long walk around the world, but dreaming of them always crushes her heart like a tomato. Flora wakes, she's crying. She tells us that nowhere is the first place that she ever felt free, as if a piece of her had been waiting there. She goes on to tell us that she understands the unnamed better because the unnamed lost peace that Flora couldn't have imagined, but Flora has had peace. She's seen cities with lights at night and free people. Flora has kept the books of the unnamed. She had brought them as she moved and fled across the continent. Flora tells us that the one thing she knows is the only thing that's remembered is what survives. Because Flora knows and understands this, she must do two things: collect and keep as many pieces of the record as she can, and she must write her own record so that it too survives. Flora doesn't want to face what's coming. She can't imagine her life's work being destroyed. Flora tells us that they are coming. Every raider, scout, farmer, and fisher has all had the same stories. They have numbers that Flora can't even imagine, and old world machines that cannot be stopped. Tanks, trunks, missiles, plague weapons. One raider drew what he saw, a mass grave with bodies uncovered. Yesterday, Flora was told that the army has a plane. Flora thinks that this is probably impossible because if they did have a plane, they would have already arrived. They are taking cities and towns, and they are headed straight for Flora. Flora refuses to live her death before it comes to her, not even in her imagination. She intends to spend the uncertain days turning memory into record. Flora wants to tell us that while she would like to start from the beginning, she can't because she can only tell us what was told to her, most of which was lies. The person that told Flora who she was and what her place in this world was rarely ever told the truth. When Flora first arrived to Banbridge, she wanted to arrive as a woman with no past. She didn't want to carry stories and ghosts of the things she's had to say goodbye to, but she understands that if she doesn't carry her past, it will just drag her down. She has tried to erase Archie. He wasn't her father, and he wasn't the one who cut her, but Archie is where Flora began. Because of Archie, Flora took a long time to learn to trust her father. Archie had never respected Flora. She was his annoyance and his comfort. He told her that she was a burden and that she wasn't a real girl. She was told that her only reason for existing was for sex. And while Archie used Flora constantly, because that was her only value to him, he was never brutal with her, and he wouldn't allow others to be brutal with her. The King of Florida had suggested to name Flora, because when she was, like, basically a toddler, Archie had seen her fighting with another kid. Flora basically wrestled the dress off of another little girl to take it. And so the King of Florida basically says, like, that one's stubborn and wild. You should name her Flora after me. And Archie decided that he wanted to purchase Flora because she took what she needed, and he knew that she would be able to survive and that she would be useful to him.
Flora, stop wrestling Jimmy.
Right. So Flora tells us that while she didn't choose to be a slaver, she was made into one anyways. She didn't understand that the children they had traded were people with their own desires and destiny, because she didn't understand that she was her own person with desires and destiny. She didn't begin to understand until she was with her father and then with the horsewomen. When she met Eddie, she hadn't fully made peace with her past, and when she thinks about how she grew up, she always thinks of Connie. Flora knows that there is no way they can win if the army decides to drop bombs from a plane. The lookouts say that the army will arrive in only a few days, and decisions need to be made. And now we go back to the past. This is basically like right after the Book of Edda we're at here. So they... Obviously, last we saw them, they had escaped the lion, and they were in a truck or van, and they were headed over to Amen. Amen had welcomed the refugees from SDL and Nowhere with open arms. Eddie slipped back into Edda. Alice and Sylvia, the midwife of Nowhere, basically once they arrived, they quickly got to work checking out all the refugees and tending to them with medical care and things of that nature. And then once everyone had settled in, Alma had called a gathering. She announced that Amen had been given, that they had been given so much and that they were very blessed to be adding this many to their numbers, stating that she hopes the refugees will strengthen the bloodlines, asking the Heavenly Mother to guide Alma as she united them to see to many more births. Basically just sort of uniting the two sets of people. Ina isn't loving this whole vibe, so she basically stands up and interrupts Alma, hey, thanks so much for the hospitality, but I don't know that we're going to be staying, and regardless, you don't really get to make the decisions, that we're just going to jump in and start having babies with you guys, basically type of thing. Also considering where they're coming from, very specifically, just the thought of reproducing is probably the last thing any of these women even want to be thinking about in the first place, since they were in a forced situation for that. Alma basically tries to explain that this is the will of the Heavenly Mother, and Ina very politely tells Alma that they don't need her or the Heavenly Mother to be speaking over their destiny right now. Telling Alma that everyone needs to make their own decisions in this, saying that Ina is sure that as a leader, Alma understands. Basically, we're all going to need to sit and think and decide what we want to do, and as a leader of free people, right, you should definitely understand that this needs to be an individual decision and not just you decreeing that we're all staying. Alma tells Ina that she understands, going on to say that she is sure that the seed of faith is in her. So basically, I'm sure that you have the seed of faith, and I'm sure that you're not trying to cause contention here. Basically, you're gonna fall in line. I'm sure we're gonna get along, and you're gonna fall in line, type of thing. She then starts dispensing out callings from the Heavenly Mother. She tells Alice that she would like her to found a drug making center and then begin to train apprentices. Basically, Amen has no medical care at all. If you break a bone, it is set by just whoever feels like they're okay with trying to do that, type of thing. And you just hope that they do it right, and most of the time, if you get a pretty major injury, you either die or you don't heal right anyways. But the only thing that they are capable of doing in terms of medical care is birthing babies. That's it. They have no other form of medicine or anything like that. So
you don't take them to the doctor or the dentist or anything?
No.
Okay.
But anyway, so Alice is kind of you know, she doesn't want to be thinking about where she came from, so, like, she's definitely okay with, like, throwing herself into this type of thing. Like, there is a school, and, like, kids are obviously taught, but, like, in terms of sciences, it's mostly just biology in terms of, like, farming and obviously reproduction, and that's about as much science as they get. So Alice is, like, not necessarily wanting to do this, but she's, like, happy to have a project type of thing. And then Alma tells Ina her calling is to basically join the nursery and, like, help take care of the babies. And Ina's like, I'll think about it. And then Alma asks Etta to join Amish, basically saying, like, your calling is to go and join Amish and, like, bring more people home. And Etta very impolitely tells Alma to fuck off, basically saying, I'm not doing what you tell me to. Anywhere I go alone, and I go because I want to. Like, you're not sending me anywhere. I'm not going to be a part of a group. Like, I'm absolutely not doing this. So after the meeting, Flora approaches Etta. She isn't feeling super great that she didn't get a calling, and so she's starting to feel concerned, like, is there a particular reason, like, Alma didn't, like, give me a task or something to do? So she's starting to feel like, is there maybe prejudices here against people who are like me? Etta explains that she knows that they're really lucky that Amin has taken them in and saved them, essentially. Like, I know we're lucky to be safe and comfortable, but it's entirely too much. Like, girl is just way out of pocket right now. Also, again, particularly discussing refugees adding to the bloodline, again, considering that they may already be adding to another bloodline presently that they don't want to be adding to. And then let's see. Okay. So Flora is going to continue to grow her concerns. She's worried that she's being left out due to the fact that she can't have the baby. So, like, when Etta says this, Flora's like, oh, like, because I can't add to the bloodlines, is that why, like, Alma is kind of not being interactive with me? Is it because, like, I don't have a value here? Type of thing. And then also the word breeder is used fucking constantly, which just gives me the ick so fucking hard. And I understand why it's being used, particularly in this context, but just, I don't know, considering just who I am as a human being, but also, like, the world we are presently living in, I don't fucking love that, since, you know, women are currently being seen as incubators as well, which is just fucking gross and enraging. So Flora is wondering if there's anyone in Amin that is like her, before thinking that she really just hates that everywhere she goes she has to have this dread over how people are going to react to finding out who she is, and then just kind of, like, second guessing everybody's intentions with her type of thing. Etta tells Flora that she's sure that she's just kind of overthinking this, because Alma gave Ina a calling, and she's obviously way past the age of, like, adding to anyone's bloodline type of thing. So she's like, I'm sure you're just, like, overthinking it, but also just be happy she didn't give you some stupid task anyways, you know? Flora tells us that a safe place should feel better than this. She knows that she's free to leave anytime she wants, but she doesn't want to go alone. And then she wonders to herself if you can even be free if you need someone else, you know? Like, is that even really freedom if you can't be by yourself? She has decided that since she doesn't have a calling, she's going to use this time to begin to read the Book of the Unnamed, because she knows that the Unnamed kind of traveled alone, so she kind of wants to, like, sort of see that, because Flora's always been with someone. Like, she was with Archie, and then she was in Jeff City, and then she was with Etta, so, like, she's never had to just be alone, because even in Jeff City, she basically was adopted by her father, and then when she started to approach puberty, he introduced her to the horsewomen of Jeff City, and they basically, like, took her under her wing, and she lived with them for, like, many months before she, like, you know, returned, like, kind of learned their ways type of thing. So she's just never had to be on her own. So she kind of wants to, like, kind of see, not, like, what all the hype's about, but, like, she does find the Unnamed to be, like, incredibly fascinating, and, like, that it's kind of, like, obviously a hero's journey, and, like, she just kind of, like, changed the world in such uncertain times. So she wants to find that strength, but also, like, she was alone for so much of her journey too, so, like, how did she, like, handle that type of thing, and, like, is there any lessons I can take from that? So she's like, cool, if I don't have any time, like, I can at least maybe try to enrich myself a little that way. Let's see. Okay, so side note, there is and I don't know how much I left of Kelda in here, but when Etta went to the like dual city, which they are now just referring to as Womanhattan. So there was Manhattan, and now they're referring to the female side as Womanhattan. But when Etta went there, she met a girl named Kelda. Kelda was like super giddy and happy and like cheerful. Kelda wasn't like part of the breeders, and that she like didn't necessarily want to reproduce. Like, she has no desires to have babies, so she basically, when she had to like interact with a man in that way, she used other services to help them other than just her vagina type of thing. So anyways, Etta and Kelda had spent the night together that night in Womanhattan, and they were in bed together when the Lion's Men like came and took everything. Kelda was taken to SDL. She was part of the harem that was freed. So she's basically just like glued to Eddie at this point. Basically, Flora says she's as attached to Etta as one person can be, following Etta around like a puppy. And any night that Etta will allow Kelda to be like in her room, like Kelda's like there, basically like just obsessed with Eddie, or Etta. Confusing. Anyways, so one morning Kelda wakes up and finds that Etta is in the bathroom. She's been sick. Kelda has been assigned to go work in the nursery. Although she doesn't necessarily want to do that. She doesn't love being underground. She's very much like a hunter of the forest, wants the sun on her face. In my mind, I picture her kind of as like Ygritte from Game of Thrones. She like refuses to take off her hides, like she's just still in her like moccasins and all that garb and stuff. And she just wants to be outside. She wants to be in nature. She wants to be doing what she knows how to do, like out here with her bow and shit. So Etta is basically like, you don't have to go to the nursery if you don't want to go to the nursery, but I am gonna go and forage today, so if you want to come with me, that's fine. So they go. Etta tells Kelda that they're searching for plants for Alice. They set off together. They find the plant that Etta's looking for. It's too late for them to make it back to Amen before dark, so they decide that they're just going to camp out in an old cottage. Kelda offers Etta some dinner, but Etta turns it down, saying that she isn't hungry, but she thinks to herself she is very hungry. However, Alice told her that the tea she's going to make is basically poison, so Etta thinks it's probably just for the best that the only thing she's getting sick off of is water rather than having a stomach full of food. Alice has instructed Etta on how to make the tea, telling Etta that if she doesn't feel sick, then she hasn't had enough, but if she gets dizzy, she's had too much. Etta thinks to herself that she needs just enough poison to kill the little lion, but not her, and she wonders how many little lions will be in Amen by spring. Fast forward. Yep. Flora goes to speak with Alma. She tells Alma that she would like to receive a calling. She wants to be useful. She tells Alma that she's a really great weaver and she would love to work with the Leaf. And the Leaf is a subsection of boys who are too young to be in mishes, and so they basically like do all the cooking and cleaning and dishes and all of that type of stuff. They get all the like sort of menial tasks. So Flora's like, I would love to work with them and train them how to weave. Like, I'm a really great weaver. And Alma is basically like, I don't know that you would really work well with the Leaf. So then Flora's like, okay, I'm really great with kids though. I can maybe teach them reading and sewing. Like, maybe I can be a teacher in the school. And Alma is like,
No, mishes.
I think the nursery and the school are all set. And so Flora is like, okay. And like, Alma won't look at Flora while they're having this conversation.
What color are her eyes?
Right. Alma is basically like searching empty rooms in like an old abandoned place in Amen. She's basically looking for like the medical lab so that she can direct Alice, like, here is where you're gonna go set up. So Flora is obviously beginning to get really frustrated with Alma. And then she says, well, I know you don't like to send women out on a mish, but I can be helpful there. Like, I did do some raiding with Eddie. Like, I know at least I can handle myself out there. So if you wanted to send me with a mish, like, I'm fine with that. And Alma just says, I don't know that we could really find a good partner for you to go on a mish with. And then she basically is like, well, there's no one like really like you here, so I don't want to pair you up with anybody at all, like, type of thing. So Flora says, okay, but you're the only one in Amen that can perform magic, and you have a pretty major calling, right? Like, you're the only person like you here, but you are, like, a perfectly capable leader.
So almost just a bitch to her?
Yeah. Yeah, so, basically, Alma tells Flora that, like, her heavenly calling came straight from the mother when the day she was born. So basically, like, I was born special. And then she says the most fucking out-of-pocket thing, basically saying that she had already asked the Heavenly Mother what Flora's calling was, but when she asked, the Heavenly Mother didn't say anything because she didn't know who Alma was talking about. Basically, like, Flora's not your real name, so she couldn't give me a calling for you because she doesn't know who I'm talking about when I ask about you. So just super fucking out-of-pocket bullshit. So Flora is just like, she's fucking had it. I'm sure she tells Alma that it's obvious that Alma doesn't want her here, because Alma clearly wants nothing to do with her. Alma starts to say, well, Heavenly Mother, and Flora quickly cuts her off and tells her that she doesn't care what Alma's connection to someone that no one else can hear. Like, I don't give a shit about that. Like, you can only hear her. I don't give a fuck what you guys, like, have to say about me kind of thing. And then Flora tells Alma, well, I'm gonna give myself a calling and I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna read books for your library type of thing. Like, okay, cool. Since you don't want to tell me what to do, I'm just gonna go make myself useful in another way. Because A, she wants to get out there by herself, but then, like, also B, they have a really massive library, but obviously the citizens who live there their whole lives, they've read everything in the library, so she's like, I can bring back, like, textbooks to help you guys set up the clinic. I can go out and get more, like, children's books. Like, I'll at least enrich your library, right? So fast forward, Flora approaches Eddie, asks to be trained as a raider. She notices that Eddie and Kelda are coming back from a raid, or they tell her they're coming back from a raid, but they've legitimately brought, like, nothing back except, like, a handful of plants. So Flora's like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. And Eddie, is, like, really shocked, because Flora's like, I need you to train me to be a raider, because I'm about to, like, leave and go out on my own. And Eddie's like, what the fuck? And Flora is, like, kind of taken aback that Eddie is, like, so surprised, that Flora, like, wants to leave. Like, they seem kind of, like, upset, like, well, that's dangerous, you shouldn't do that. And then Flora's like, I'm honestly shocked you even give a shit type of thing. Like, that's weird. And so Eddie just kind of, like, huffs and is like, okay, fine, well, here's the spot, like, here's my map, here's the spots I know you definitely need to avoid, and here's the spots I know are, like, pretty much abandoned, and don't go anywhere else. And Flora says, well, I was honestly planning to start my search for books in Demons. And he goes, I don't know what's in Demons. You absolutely cannot go to Demons by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I haven't been out there. I don't know what's out there. Like,
watch me.
Absolutely do not. So anyways, Flora goes over to Demons. But yeah, she, like, has already decided that that's where she's gonna go. And then Eddie kind of starts in on her, like, the road is more dangerous than you can even imagine. And of course they start fighting because
Eddie, shut the fuck up.
Right. Eddie tells her that, yeah, he'll show her what's deserted, but don't go to Demons. Also, like, Flora says, like, I've been everywhere you've been and then some, and, like, you've traveled on your own even though it's dangerous. And Eddie's just like, yeah, and I've fucking paid for it in really big ways. Like, and Eddie really is coming from a place of, like, love and concern, but also, again, like, Flora's perfectly capable of being on her own. So it's one of those, like, just shut the fuck up. So anyways, Flora goes to Demons. She has traveled along the Great Plains. Corn is sprouting up from every available piece of dirt. The Library of Demons is basically a fortress. It takes her a lot of time to get in because it's, like, fully sealed shut. Like, basically when the dying happened, the library was fully sealed. There's, like, no signs of, like, panic and chaos within the library. It's just covered in dust, but it's basically a time capsule of, like, how it would have been.
Do not open till Christmas.
Yeah, and then I didn't put this in, but then getting to, like, the end of the book, I was like, okay. So, like, while Flora's in Demons, she is, like, looking around at, like, everything, just, like, all the old world things, the papers on the walls. And she very specifically notices like a picture of all the like old world librarians and like how they were all women, and so Flora was like really like taking this in, and like how they all looked different, and like there was clearly such different ways to be women, but also just having the women do something and be free and like be a career, like a job type of thing, you know. She was just kind of like how different it was obviously for women in that time period type of thing. And she also notices a sign pointing on the books of where to find stuff about the state that she's in. And then I know I told you guys where Demons is, but do you recall?
So I was thinking Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah,
that's what I figured too. I don't remember what you said, but I'm like, Demons, Des Moines.
Yeah, so she knows she's in Iowa, IWA, and then she sees a book that's like, this section is on books of Iowa, and she's like kind of like, huh, Iowa, same but different, like type of thing, like okay, like that's funny type of thing. So anyways, not super important. She gets the book she's looking for, she heads out. Side note, Amin did give her a truck to like go out on her like raid, but they kind of gave her like the shittiest truck that they had, so a lot of, before she could even really start raiding, she had to like scavenge for wood and like rebuild the truck basically, because it was very much like rotted out, and she's like, I can barely haul myself in this truck, let alone like haul back a bunch of books. So she has a truck. She's only moving at night because she's really just trying to avoid seeing anybody at all, because again, she's smart, she knows that it's dangerous out there, so she's like, cool, if I travel by night, at least it'll be harder for people to see me. And plus, most people who are out here probably are not traveling by night, so if, you know, I'm on the opposite time zone, basically, like, I probably won't see anybody because everybody should theoretically be sleeping, and also I can move a little bit more stealthy in the dark. So as she is heading back towards Amin, Flora sees the remains of a camp. It's just on the edge of Demons, and she almost missed it completely. She had pulled over to read a sign, just kind of to figure out how to get back home, and she spots a horse skull hanging from a rope in a tree.
Lovely.
Yeah, and below that is below that are the jawbones of other horses and a pile of vertebra. And on the side of a building near where this camp is, she sees the word Frags, Frags, written in big giant letters. Flora moves closer to the tree with the skull, and she sees a lot of bones. She thinks to herself that there may have been at least 50 people and horses, like, by the number of bones that are just laying here. And she obviously has no way of knowing this, but like just in her soul, she's like, these are very clearly horsewomen, like, that were massacred here. Just given the number of horses and the number of bones, she's like, this absolutely had to have been like a camp of horsewomen. So she thinks to herself, like, I don't know, I've never heard the word Frags. So she's wondering, like, is Frags what they call horsewoman here, or is Frags some sort of celebratory term to say that they like massacred people here? So she's just kind of like thinking that to herself. And let's see. So and part of the reason she was so determined to come to Demons is that she had heard stories that there were like horsewomen out there. So she's like, I'll go out there. Worst case scenario, I just bring a bunch of books back home. Best case scenario, like, I know that I'm not the only one like myself outside of Jeff City type of thing. Like, I know that there will be more of me out here. So she, let's see. Yeah, so she wanted to come out there to see that she's not alone, and all she found was death and a meaningless word. She's standing there feeling like really mournful, and she wants to like say something to like remember these women by, or like pledge to like honor them or avenge them, and she's just feeling really sad, but also she's standing at the site of a massacre in the middle of the night when she's alone, and she's like, I should probably get the fuck out of here. So she gets in her truck and she heads out. Flora couldn't hear the sound of another car approaching her. Neither car had lights. Flora's truck does have a lantern, but obviously that would defeat the purpose of her traveling by night using it. So she doesn't see this car until it's like almost fully on top of her. And basically they're on the road and they both just stop and they're just like staring at each other. And Flora can't see who's in the car. The car is completely encased in wood and leather and just has like a little strip for the person to like see out the windshield. So she doesn't know who's in the car. She's obviously worried, right? Because just any person you don't know is an enemy in these types of conditions. She hadn't run into anyone since she left Amen. At first, she's concerned that they might be from SDL, and she thinks about diving out of the truck and just like running off into the night. But she is thinking to herself that this person might be friendly. Like, they're not being super antagonistic. They're also just sitting here staring at me. So maybe it's just a woman also like wondering who the fuck is in this car type of thing. And then the car slowly starts to shift around. And then so Flora moves to one side as the car goes to the other side and they pass each other. Flora heads off. She finds a old gas station. She sets up camp. It's nearing dawn. She's having a really hard time unwinding enough to go to sleep between like seeing the massacre site and seeing another person. She's just like kind of really amped up and like trying to kind of unpack all of her thoughts on like what she's found and what she's seen. Eventually she does fall asleep, but it's like almost noon by the time that she is eventually falls asleep. And she is entirely too like fucking out for the count, just sleeping very deeply to hear the car approach and park outside. So Flora, later in the evening, before she's even fully awake, she knows that someone's in the room with her. So she kind of very slowly and stealthily opens her eyes to like try to see what's going on. And she can kind of make out the figure of someone sitting across the room from her with their back to the wall just staring at her. Yeah. Let's see. So
The Hat Man.
It is the Hat Man. And then Flora kind of hears a female voice saying, "Stop acting like you're sleeping." Flora opens her eyes and she sees a woman with bare arms. She's wearing all leather. She's covered in stick and poke tattoos. Her head is fully shaved. She has no eyebrows. She's like a boss, like fucking babe out here. The woman asks Flora if she has any weapons on her, before asking Flora if she's alone and where her keeper is. Flora introduces herself. She says that she belongs to herself and no one else. The woman introduces herself as Can. Flora asks why she snuck up on her. Can said that she's in this area very frequently and she's never once seen a woman out on her own, so she was just kind of curious, like, what is happening there. Flora tells Can that she's from Jeff City, and Can comments that Flora is a long way from home. Flora just kind of shrugs and says that they ran into issues with someone who called himself the Lion. Can scowls at this and is confused about Flora referring to him in the past tense. She makes like kind of a snarky remark of like, what, did he change his name or something? And Flora is like, no, we killed him, like he's dead. He had a harem uprising and now he's dead. Can tells Flora that everyone knows that he was the slaver king, and basically says like, my city has been planning his assassination for the last year. You absolutely have to come back, because if you actually did kill him, there's a lot of people I know back home that are gonna wanna meet you. She tells Flora that she's from a big city called Shy. It's east of them. Flora basically like, you don't have to come with us and you don't have to stay, but I've never brought a woman back to Shy who hasn't absolutely loved it, so I would recommend you coming with me anyways, just to like check it out type of thing.
Assuming Chicago, if it's east of Illinois.
Yeah.
Wow, if it's east of Iowa.
Chi-town.
Yeah.
So let's see. Flora tells Can that she has people waiting for her. But again, Can says like, I don't intend to keep you. Just come back for a few days. So we learn that Can wasn't born in Shy. She was liberated from a slaver in Iowa near Demons. And as they approach Shy, Flora thinks to herself that, as probably not mentioned, Shy is full of women and women only. And Flora's basically like, well, if there's like a huge city only filled with women, there's no way I can't not go, right? Like, I have to at least go check this out. That's like crazy. That's crazy talk. So Flora,
Really?
yes. As they approach the city of Shy, Flora lets out an audible gasp. Can tells Flora that there are more than 1,000 women living there. And much of the old city still stands. Tallest buildings that Flora's ever seen. The city sits on a river that the women use to move goods and travel.
When it's not on fire.
Right. And Flora tells us that she likes Shy better than Amen. She feels like Shy is alive and that she's allowed to be a part of it. In Amen, she feels like she's holding her breath and waiting for something bad to happen. Flora tells us that she plans to head back to Amen before it gets any colder because she can't imagine being caught in the snow. And she tells us that the city is incredibly windy and that the cold that comes off the water bites her at night. She plans to tell the story of the lion. Basically, like, Can gets into town and tells the important people, like, yo, she killed the lion. So they're like, cool, we're gonna, like, set up, like, a whole fucking theater for you to come and tell your story to, like, everyone who wants to come in here. So let's see. Okay. And then, basically Flora's plan is to, like, go and tell her story and then just go back to Alice. Like, she very much misses Alice and wants to be back with her. Future Flora is telling us that, like the Unnamed, she has had refugees write their stories when they arrive to Banbridge. And when they founded Banbridge, they didn't want to be like other settlements. They basically wanted to be very welcoming for people, and people could just come and live how they wanted to live. But they had a lot of discussions on how to make sure that they're not letting bad people into Banbridge. So there was like talk of kind of having like a test, kind of like the 3 questions of Rick and Co. from The Walking Dead type of thing. But they couldn't necessarily decide what questions to ask because a lot of questions that were floated, Flora has very much just been like, but based on those questions, I shouldn't be allowed to be here type of thing. So it was kind of like, we should ask questions, but what are the right questions, right? Because again, the themes of like, people are capable of change and people who are doing bad things maybe just don't know that they have other options type of thing. So obviously Flora, again, is just very like open-minded about people. So let's see. Flora wants to give people a chance to change. And when they were initially trying to address this, Alice was pregnant, and so she was very, very desperate to keep like bad people out. So Alice was very much on like the front lines of like, we really need to keep people out of here because we can't let someone like the lion in here, especially when we're trying to like just build something like so new. And at this point, Connie speaks up, and they say a very definitive way to test people is basically just to ask if they think that slavery could ever be justified. Because Connie very much says that people are always going to stay the same no matter what type of opportunities you give them, basically believing that people who do bad things do it because they want to. And so if you ask people if they think slavery could ever be justified, any answer other than an immediate no is like okay, cool, you can't be here. Flora tells us that Connie is so much like Eddie.
Scary.
Right. One refugee tells Flora and her council that the army, again, back to the army that's moving, every time they've shown up, they just demand frags. They, like, roll up on the city and they say, we want your frags. And if, again, generally speaking, and I know you don't know what frags are, but just generally speaking, every single person who has even heard of frags is like, that's not real. Like, there aren't frags. Like, that doesn't exist. That's a myth that people have made up. So it's basically like this army's rolling up and saying, we want all your mermaids, and then killing everybody because nobody is giving them mermaids. So they're basically going settlement to settlement and just destroying everything that they're coming across. So we're back over to the past. Flora, it's the day of her performance, essentially. She's super, super stressed about sharing the story of the lion. She's not sure how to tell the story in a way that they would believe her, but also in a way that she could even stand to sort of tell and relive. but also Flora to some extent was complacent in their captivity, right? Like she was doing what the lion said without like question. So there's part of that of like, if I tell them the true events of the story, are they going to judge me? Are they not going to want me here? But also, I don't necessarily want to relive this, but also, like, for fuck's sakes, we fought lions and tigers. Like, are they even going to believe? So it's like, there's so much of the story that is, like, unbelievable but true, but also, obviously, a very heavy traumatic event. But also, she feels guilty for being complacent with them. So she's having a lot of, like, big feelings about this.
Hey, we believe you. We got bears.
Right, exactly. Oh my. The bears.
I think I did too much of a Boston accent.
Probably. But
Blocks.
a very, very...
No, still Boston.
A very side note that doesn't matter, but I kind of fucking love, is that when Flora comes into the theater, she's handed, like, the first thing she smells is, like, fried food. Just, like, all of this, like, really delicious, greasy fried food.
Oh my god, fried chicken sounds so good right now.
And someone hands her a bucket, and there's, like, all these food and sauces, like, laid out, and they hand her a, like, bucket, like, think popcorn bucket, and they're like, just pick your snacks wisely, because you only get to fill the bucket once, type of thing. So Flora is, like, in heaven, and she discovers chips and mayo, and she's like, these are the best things I've ever had in my life. But she like has like falafel and like the swizzly potato things on a skewer. Like she's just living in all of these sauces, and she's like, I cannot leave here without learning how to make chips and mayo. And it's like, I love you, girl.
I'm like, can I just live here?
Like, get your mayo. Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, go get Alice. Ask Alice to come. If not, just start a new life.
It's funny that they have like the tornado dog or whatever that's called, but Mayo is where like her head's at.
yeah. I know that like French fries and mayo is like kind of a thing in some places, which is obviously
Mayo and ketchup.
okay. Hell yeah. I mean, I love like a balsamic mayo. Like in like chips and balsamic mayo. Whew, that's good. But yeah, no, Flora's just like so taken by mayo. And I think I probably cut out most mentions of her, but Shy is led by Mayor Max, who is just this like big, beautiful, buxom woman who has her own hive. Just fucking big, beautiful, curvy ladies like all over each other, and Max has like her own private box where she like does the viewing in the theater, and the table is just like full of all these fried foods. And as like Flora's like picking her stuff and like tasting the sauces, she's like so obsessed with the mayo, and the person who's like escorting her to Max is like, oh, that's Max's favorite, you don't need to take a bunch of that because Max definitely has that up in her box. Like she's like, that is her favorite thing to eat on everything, so like don't worry about trying to grab all the mayo because Max has got you covered, girlfriend. But yeah, and Max is like wearing this beautiful old world like opera gown. Like I just honestly, I love the vibes. Like there's some vibes that are kind of fuck ass, but like generally speaking, Shy is kind of.
You would lose your mind if we had any ranch. We would need to get the mop.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and a bucket.
She's got the bucket.
That's some ramp. I don't know. Anyways,
That's some ranch. That's some ranch.
yes. Okay.
Thick ass ranch.
For the wings and pizza.
Yeah. Oh, I made a note. Basically, Flora has the like Menchie's, but for fried food. Like that's essentially like what's set up. Like Menchie's, just go up and pick your fried food and then put all the toppings and stuff on it. So, anyways, all right. So
We call it a buffet.
yes,
Buffet.
yes. Flory Buffett. So... that was stupid.
How you doing, Flory Buffett?
Fried burgers in paradise.
Flory Buffett, the food slayer.
Yes.
Food Slayer.
R.I.P. Giles.
Rest in peace, King. The one where they turn into teenagers. Best episode. So anyways, as Flora's about to take stage, she says to her escort that she's really worried that the truth is going to be too awful to hear. But they say, like, Shy has heard it all, and it really takes a lot to shock this crowd. Basically telling a story that, like, oh, one time Can came back after killing this really horrific slaver. I won't necessarily go into what the slaver did, but absolutely heinous, weird, top-of-the-line fucking evil. And so Cam comes out and, like, tells the story of all these horrific things the slaver did, and then finishes the story by pulling out his skin and then whipping his dick into the, like, balcony. So...
like, honestly,
like,
vibes.
Can, had skinned the man and cut his penis off and then finished telling the story by, like, and here's his skin, and then...
You know what, now I'm
like
wondering...
a t-shirt cannon, but with...
You know what, now I'm wondering...
You have to definitely bleep that word.
Whoops, sorry.
No, now I'm worried that my story's too boring. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but she's like, oh, girl, don't even worry about it. So she really, like, puts her whole into the story. Everyone's obsessed with her. Like, everyone's, like, cheering and wants to talk to her afterwards.
We gotta censor that, too.
Oh, damn. No, I've absolutely said that word before.
Okay, no, for Road to Nowhere, Road to Nowhere, we only censor male genitalia.
Yeah, no wussy. So anyways, Flora, fast forward, she's invited to the bathhouse. Max is like, I really want to get to know you. Like, I'm sorry we weren't able to... Sorry, what?
I was confused trying to figure out what Noah-see was.
I don't know. Nowhere.
Oh, okay. I was thinking...
Noah-see? I don't know.
I was thinking, did I miss someone named Noah?
Perhaps. I don't know. Anyways, so after the show, Max is like, I really want to get to know you, mysterious stranger. Like, and Flora's like, well, I'm leaving soon.
I have a name.
Right. Flora's like, I'm leaving soon. Max is like, cool. Tomorrow morning, come to the bathhouse and we'll like chit chat. I'll be able to like have a one-on-one like conversation and we'll like get to know each other.
Let's get naked in the sauna.
Yeah. So Flora's like super obviously concerned because she's like, well, this is a town of all women. I don't traditionally look like a woman.
We're about to find out if I like this town.
I think it's going to be a little column A, a little column B, because again, vibes are sometimes fuck-ass.
As long as there's some columns that I can agree with.
Yeah. So anyways, Flora is super concerned. She's talking to Can about this. Basically, like, worried about going to the bathhouse, like, oh, where I come from, like, usually bath alone type of thing. And Can is, like, making a joke of, like, you can't be shy and shy. Like, also,
seems like the perfect place for it.
Yeah, Can's like, do you have scars? Do you have, like, an ugly mole? Like, what are you worried about? Like, also, everybody looks different here, and nobody cares what anyone looks like.
Flora's not cut right now, right?
Flora is cut.
Oh, Flora's cut, okay.
In, like, the testicle sense.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Yes.
I forgot.
Yeah, Flora still has a working penis.
All Frank, no beans.
Yes. Oops, no beans. Sorry, that was bad.
I don't think that was an oops. I think that was intentional.
I mean, yeah. So anyways.
I have athlete's foot. I can't share a bath.
Yes, Can is like very much trying to hype Flora up. Like, don't even worry about it, girl. We've seen it all. Like, it's no big deal. Like, we love everybody. It's totally chill. And so Flora is like, okay, well, I can't have another Eddie situation, so I should probably rip the Band-Aid off now and like say something to Can about it. So if it's gonna go sideways, I'd rather do that when I'm not, standing naked in front of the mayor. So Flora goes, okay, well, have you ever seen a woman with a penis? And Can goes, every time I take my fucking pants off. What do you mean? Like, Can's like, that's what you're worried about? Like, what are you talking about?
Does Can fully understand?
Yeah. Have you seen a woman with a penis? Yeah. Every time I take my pants off.
So Can is a horse woman.
Yes.
Yes. Accepted.
Yeah. And so with that,
You don't think that's weird? Nay.
Nay. We learn why and how there are no men in Shy City. Can and Flora, they like hook up afterwards. A small
like hook up or hook up?
Like sweaty bed sheets.
Don't leave.
Well,
What about Alice?
we're about to get to the fuck ass part, okay? So after
Never mind. You just explained it.
After the fucking, a little boy comes running in and like grabs the sheets, and Can's like, oh, don't mind him, just ignore him. He's here to get the laundry. And Flora like asks, like, oh, does he like, is this his like his job? Like, does he do this for like payment? Like, how do you pay him? Is there something that you give to him? Like, how is he exchanging his services? And Can is like, no, we don't pay him. What do you mean? And Flora is like, okay, well, he's like super, super skinny. And she's like, well, do you at least like feed him? And Can's like, I don't know, his keeper feeds him. And Flora's like, what is going on? Like, I need to understand what is happening because you're answering my questions like this isn't a big deal, but this is so fucking weird to me.
They really need like an intro to every like settlement. Like, here's how we do things around
yeah,
here. I'm not sure.
Like an orientation packet.
Yes.
A welcome guide. So Flora is like, I just need to know what's going on. Like, I need you to actually give me answers because, like, Can is very much, like, getting ready. Like, why are you asking me this? This is so not important. And Can is like, okay, well, there's a lot of jobs that need to be done to keep the city running, and kids don't contribute to the city, so the jobs that kids can do, kids do, because I do too much important shit to, like, have to do my own laundry, like, type of thing, like, which... you know, makes sense, right? Like, there's menial tasks that need to be done to, like, yeah, so, let's see. Work needs to be done, telling Flora that children who haven't become women yet are put to work. Flora goes on to ask when children become women, and Can says, well, it's up to them to decide. I became a woman my 12th summer. I was really stubborn, and I was certain that there were good men in this world, so I asked to become a raider. And after my first raid, I came home and became a woman because I realized that there were, in fact, no good men out there. Like, I proved myself wrong, and so I was like, okay, yeah, I don't want to be a man, so let's do the damn thing. And Flora kind of sits with that, and then tells Can, like, you know that's slavery, right? Like, you know that those kids are slaves? And Can's like, well, no one's abusing them, and no one's, like, assaulting them. So you don't really have to call it slavery. Like, we
call it chores.
Yeah, exactly. Like, basically, once they reach a working age, their parents, like, give them off to a keeper who, like, does room and board and, like, feeding them. Obviously not enough if this kid is, like, super skinny, but, and then they're just, like, put to work, and then when they are ready to become women or not, they are able to kind of graduate out of slavery, I guess. So Can is like, well, you don't have to put it like that because in Can's mind, slaves are abused and assaulted. So if we're not doing that, this isn't slavery. Like, this is just us making kids be useful. And so future Flora tells us that one of the unchangeable rules in Banbridge is that no one is entitled to another's labor or body. And that this is one of the things that hurts Flora most is the loss of a truly safe place for people. And Flora also tells us the observation of, like, every city that she's been to that, like, runs super well and is super successful, and seems so idyllic is usually being run off the back of someone else type of thing. Of, like, I've never seen a place that was successful like Shy that didn't get there because someone was being, like, mistreated in order to make that happen. So fast forward, Can is taking Flora back to her truck. So basically, like, they hid the truck in Demons, and so Can is taking Flora back so that she can head back to Amen. And as they're leaving Shy, Flora notices that there's a bunch of bodies hanging outside the gates. And Flora thinks to herself, like, wondering, like, was their only crime being, like, a man? Is that why these people are hanging outside the gates? So after they get a little bit of a ways from the city, so Can can't, like, turn around and, like, I don't know, take her to jail or something, she very directly asks why and how Shy is only women, stating that most people are born men, and Can says, no one's born a man, everyone's born a naked baby, basically, and everyone's born naked and the rest is drag. And then going on to explain that everything after being born is learned. So babies are born, men and women aren't born. You become that because you make choices through life and you learn how to do things, and that is when you become a man or a woman type of thing. You get to choose who you are, like, you get to pick your destiny by how you live and what you learn. So Flora asks about men who don't do any harm. Like, if there's a man who doesn't do any harm, why would you not consider to keep them? And Can laughs and saying that she's never heard of a man that doesn't do harm. And basically they must not be real.
What do they do with the ones who decide to become men?
they just leave, basically. So yeah. No, but Can basically says you can be a man anywhere. Like, it's safe to be a man anywhere, good or bad. You can do that anywhere. You just can't do that here. Like, this is a safe haven for women, and it's safe to be a man any place that a man goes, basically. So, like, they have no part in being here. There's also no one cares what body parts you have. It's like the choices that you make. And if you are so concerned about being a man, you are so welcome to do that away from here. So once you kind of come of age and you decide that you don't want to be a woman, then you just leave. That's all. It's not like, you know, throwing them into the wolves. I mean, I guess because you're sending them out alone, but yeah, Can's like, we don't care. You can be a man, just somewhere else. And then there's a story of someone who was born female, basically like carving a penis out of wood and like luring women and like assaulting them. And Can was like, she decided to be a man, so she was executed. But also, you know, that is an executable offense. But again, Can's like, it kind of goes both ways, right? Like, if a man wants to be a man, they can leave. And if a woman decides they want to be a man and starts hurting people, they can't be here either, type of thing. So whatnot. Anyways, so then Flora asks about frags, and Can says, like, I've heard of them, but they're definitely not real. Explaining that frags are women who can impregnate themselves. Can says if they were real, then they could just get rid of men altogether, type of thing. Like, they're definitely not real. It's just kind of a rumor people have made up. So, future, we have a refugee story. The army came. They asked for frags. They went through questioning women with children and pregnant women, demanding to know how it happened. After killing folks, the leader of the army then told the people he didn't kill to go to Banbridge, telling them exactly how to get to Banbridge and telling them to ask for Flora once they got there. So it would in fact seem that this is perhaps personal. Back to Amen. Side note, Alice feels trapped. She's thinking that she's in a cage, a soft cage, but still a cage, and so she's planning to leave Amen. She essentially wants to get them set up with like their drug making clinic, get enough plants planted, get them like a backstock of meds, train up some people, and then leave. She's like, I don't want to like leave them unattended because I do think that like medical support is important, but I don't like it here and I don't want to be here. Flora gets back around dinner time. She goes to the dining hall. Alma asks how the raid went. She confirmed she brought home a ton of books. Alma asks to see Flora after you're done eating, come meet me in the library. And Flora's concerned because Alma like does everything pomp and circumstance, like everything has to be a big speech. So Flora's like, if she needs to talk to me alone, what the fuck is she gonna say to me? So Flora goes and meets Alma in the library. Alma first thanks Flora for all the books. She then asks if Flora would be interested in a courtship, telling Flora that her body is valuable in different ways and that she can be part of Amen, she can be useful, basically telling Flora that she's almost a woman, and a lot of the men are starting to get like kind of antsy being around all these new women, and she understands the importance of not putting the women in that situation right now, so she basically wants Flora to...
Bye, bitch.
Yeah.
Bye, bitch.
Yeah, she's like, the men are super antsy and we can at least use you to like entertain at least one of them, so what do you say?
I hope it's a fist to the face.
So Flora basically tells Alma that she's more or less like the lion. And so after this conversation, like, Flora obviously declines, and she's like, okay, now I know I need to go out on my own, but like also I know I know I'm capable, I know for certain that's what I need to do, but like, how do I make that happen? Where do I go, type of thing. But Flora is definitely like ready. Side note, Alice tells Flora about Etta's situation. Alice is brewing up a remedy, basically like, this is what Etta's going through, but also she's not the only one that's going through that, and so I've been having quite a few women come to me to fix the situation for them. And then let's see. So Etta is kind of on the fence about what to do about this. She didn't end up making and having the tea when she was on the road. Though she did obviously bring everything home for Alice because, again, there's other women in the same situation. So Etta wants them to be able to have that option available to them. And part of the reason that Etta has reverted to Etta instead of staying Eddie is because Eddie's a man and Eddie can't get pregnant. Therefore, because there is this like parasite within them, it has to be Etta right now. So it's kind of like Etta's being forced to remain Etta. And this is a piece of the lion, which obviously knowing Etta Eddie, like slavers do not get to live. So like this should not get to live because it's a piece of evil. But it's also a piece of me that is choosing to survive. So like, can I really eliminate that, right? So that's kind of the internal battle. Although deep down, Etta knows, based on how their first pregnancy went, chances are really good that this one's not going to turn into anything anyways. But they're also just really having a hard time coming to terms with, like, yes, I should kill a piece of the lion, but, like, no, I shouldn't kill a piece of myself, especially if that piece of myself fights to survive. Like, I should maybe give it that chance type of thing. So there's, like, a lot of, like, internal turmoil going on there. And Alice is very much like, we're kind of getting to the point of no return. So, like, I want you to make the decision that makes you happiest, but I do need you to know that we're getting to the point where you're not going to be able to make a different choice. Okay, so Etta and Flora have a moment together. Etta is dreamily discussing starting a city of their own, no one telling them what to do or how to live. Etta then begins having cramps, and she just kind of undresses and climbs into the bathtub. Flora is like, do you want me to go get Alice or Sylvia? And Etta's just like, can you just like sit with me? It's fine. Like, I'll be fine. Just if you could sit with me, that'd be cool. Things happen. Eddie climbs out of the tub. And Flora sees that Etta went into the tub and Eddie climbed back out of the tub. So like just very clearly, like, he's Eddie now. He's back like to himself. He's just sort of standing taller. She helps Eddie get cleaned up and helps him to bed. Flora crawls in and lays with him and just kind of holds him. The next morning, Alma is up to something. She's called a meeting. She's dressed in her whitest white. She's wearing like very soft makeup. And she announces that she's expecting again. And then she goes on to announce that it isn't her alone who's expecting. And she then begins like naming women who are also expecting, all of whom are the refugees who maybe don't necessarily want that information to be shared. So she basically begins calling out everyone she knows is pregnant. Also naming Etta in this. Obviously people are not fucking happy about this because like A, some of them are no longer pregnant, and B, it's nobody's fucking business. Like also, since this isn't a joyful thing that's happening to them, you know? So let's see. The women who have chosen to no longer be pregnant stand up and tell Alma, like, I'm not in fact pregnant anymore. And so there's this moment of like, what do you mean? How? Like, Almond hasn't lost babies like in many years. So like, how is that possible? And then Alice and Sylvia, the midwife, are like, there are ways to not be pregnant anymore. So she's very much like, you're a witch, like you're evil type of thing. So like it shit's going.
Almost giving the picket fence people at
Hell.
Parenthood.
Yeah.
That I want to throw into a dumpster.
Yeah. So it very much spirals into like not good.
I was just about to like make a note for later that Alma is very much Tamlin in the first book. Oh, and they're like a really good character.
Yeah.
I like them and what they stand for. And then the next book, what the hell happened?
Yeah, and just because it's like very clearly like an organized religion, at minimum be a little sus, right? Like, because generally
I didn't like Elmo really at the first book.
Right, because generally speaking, like the ideal of organized religion is normally good, right? Like love thy neighbor, do unto others, etc., etc., etc. Like the pillars of what things are based on are generally speaking like good concepts, but like it's not how people are
built
using
from
it.
them, and
you know, it's used as like a weapon.
Yeah, they
more often than not. So spirals into a fight. Okay. Yeah, and then even the women who are still pregnant are, like, not okay. Like, I don't see why that's your business. Like, I don't see why that's anyone else's here's business. Like, I don't know why you even felt the need to fucking tell people. Like, that's not cool type of thing. Alma tells them that the pregnant women are welcome to join the community, but that the rest she needs to pray about. Alma leaves. After Alma leaves, Eddie announces that he's not going to wait around for Alma to decide to kick them out or make an example of them type of thing. Like, theoretically, she can come and kill us in the night and then just be like, look, see, God didn't want them here, so
yeah,
type of thing. And Eddie's like, I'm not going to be here for that. So basically announcing I'm leaving tonight and whoever wants to come with me can come with me. And so obviously a group from nowhere forms, including Alice and Flora, and they're like, cool, we'll spread the word, just let us know, and we'll, like, gather up everyone that wants to go. Eddie goes to tell Ina that, like, a group is leaving. Side note here, both when we're having, like, Flora and Alice's POV, we've both been getting internal monologues about how Ina just very much seems to be withering away in Amen. She's very, like, thin and skinny. Ina and Flora have kind of, like, bonded a little bit. And Flora has noticed that Ina has gone from, like, directly but sassily answering questions to, like, either just not even acknowledging when Flora's, like, asking her a question, or just kind of giving, like, an answer of, like, just life is pain type of moment. Like, she's clearly not doing well. She's clearly, like, had it. She's tired. She's just tired. So, Eddie goes to say, like, tell Ina, like, hey, we're leaving. But when Eddie returns from seeing Ina, he's, like, incredibly pale. They ask if he's okay, and he says Ina's gone. Alice and Flora go confirm, yes, Ina has in fact passed. They begin to prepare her body. They get her clean, they put her in clean clothes, and they prepare to take her to the elevator so that they can, you know, go and put her to rest, essentially. But as they're approaching the elevator, a group of the Leaf young boys, like, grab her and take her, and they're like, where are you going? And they're like, oh, Alma is in the morning room. She's waiting for us to go there. So Alma has basically decided that she's going to throw a funeral for Ina. So while Alma is, like, hosting the funeral, like, everyone's gathered in the morning room, Eddie basically comes in and is just, like, very dramatically there with his backpack and goes the fuck off. And so he, like, storms up the aisle, sets his backpack down next to Alice, and just kind of goes up on stage and is like, you didn't even fucking know her. He has Ina's wooden belly, which also, side note, had vanished once they arrived. Mother Ina had made an announcement specifically asking for anyone who sees it to return it to her, and Eddie found it in the trash. So he went to go look for it there, and it was there, so that's where he, like, went, and he was bringing it back to Ina, because it was obviously incredibly important to her. Like, she was very rarely seen without it. So yeah, he's like, it's not your story to tell. You didn't even fucking know her. Because, like, Alma is, like, just saying a bunch of weird out-of-pocket shit, basically saying, like, Ina always knew it was her destiny to be a mother, and that was, like, her greatest calling in life, and, like, she was so happy when she was finally, like, a whole person having, like, Etta and all this stuff. And so, okay. There's some good shit in here. Sorry, just, like, Eddie obviously is spitting truth. So, okay. Alma, tells Eddie that it is her place to be telling the story, and that she's the leader, and she speaks directly to Heavenly Mother, so, like, this is her place to be, like, holding this funeral. Telling Eddie that he needs to take a seat, because this isn't his place. And so instead he turns around and starts addressing the room. I'm not going to stand here and hear my mother's fucking life story be told by someone who hardly knew her. Going on to say, Ina, daughter of Maud, hadn't always wanted to be a mother, but she was glad it happened. She was other things too. She was a trained midwife. She would have continued doing that if not for the law of Emily. She was a teacher. She was a fierce fighter for the history of nowhere, and she wanted to make sure that it included everyone. She was funny, smart, wicked. She would always call people out on their bullshit. She had one of the biggest hives in nowhere. She lived in the House of Mothers for as long as she could stand it. And when she had her own hive in her own house, she had 30 to 40 men. She was always with somebody, but she only ever belonged to herself. She was a good mother, a good woman, saying that there was a lot about Ina that Eddie didn't know, but that's okay because Ina didn't belong to Eddie either. Alma then cuts in saying that Ina belongs to everybody because she's part of the community. Alma then decides and decrees that the next child born in Amen will be named Ina in her honor. Eddie then gets in Alma's face saying, will you just fucking stop? Stop trying to give and take names. Stop trying to connect things that in life to make sense. Stop trying to tie everything together where it doesn't fit. And telling Alma that if the baby doesn't come out of her, it's not her business to name it. One of the women from nowhere stands up basically saying, as far as I can tell, my baby's going to be the first to be born and I already have a fucking name picked out for it. Like, you don't get to do this. So Alma then says, but I already prayed over your child. I blessed your child. And blessings only come to people who obey. Mm-hmm. So Alma then says to Eddie, you do this to yourself. You have no faith. Your body is corrupt and you're haunted. Eddie laughs before laying the wooden belly on Ina, saying, I know exactly who I am. I won myself fight after fight on the road, in nowhere, in SDL, with every lost girl I brought home, every time I refused to be someone that I'm not. I'm sorry I never told my mother my name. I waited too long, but I'm not waiting another minute. He introduces himself to the room as Eddie, finishing with, I am leaving Amen today because I will not be told how to live, love, or die. I will take as many with me as will go. Eddie then picks up Ina. Alice stands and picks up his bag, and they go to make an exit. A group of refugees gathers, and then a couple of people from Amen are like, can we come too? He said he'd take anybody who would go with him, and we want to go with him too.
Oh, good. We all hate this place.
Well, they are queer men, basically. Like, those are the people who are joining them, are like men who are in love in Amen, who that's obviously frowned upon.
I mean, I just meant,
yeah,
it's one of those like secrets. It's like, oh, someone is finally saying it. Oh, great, I can take part in it.
Like, okay, cool. Like, this is my exit.
It's like, oh, you hate that person too? Okay, let's all talk shit about them.
Yeah, we know nothing about that.
Nope.
Not at all.
Okay, so anyways, basically, the group has gathered, and everybody's like, where's Eddie? And then they hear a hullabaloo coming from the elevator. So they head over there. Eddie's standing there holding Ina. Alma is basically like, you can't take her. You guys can't leave. You belong here type of thing. So, like, Alma's really just trying to, like, make her stand because she realizes, like, oh, shit, like, we really do need the extra people added to the bloodline. I can't just let all of these people fucking walk out right now. So she's just really trying to assert her dominance. Throwing a whole tantrum. She says that the only person who can leave from the group is Alice because she's an evil witch and she doesn't belong there anyway. So she has to get up and no one else can leave. And that in order to keep everybody there, she's refusing to let the elevator be, like, raised because it's, like, man-powered. So our group says, bet, there's a ladder to get out of Amen. It takes multiple hours to climb, but they start climbing. Like, Eddie legitimately straps Ina to his back and, like, climbs her out of Amen. So many hours later, they arrive on the surface. They build a funeral pyre, they say goodbye to Ina, and then the group decides that they want to rebuild nowhere, basically. Like, that's our home, that's where we're safe. It's going to take a long time to, like, rebuild, but there's no reason we can't rebuild, and as far as we know, it's, like, sitting there just waiting for us to come back anyways. They decide that's better than nothing, so they hoof it on over to nowhere. Let's see. Flora doesn't necessarily know that she wants to stay in Nowhere, and she doesn't want to go out on her own on foot. She's like, I don't want to stay here, but I don't have a horse and I don't have a car, and just like traveling on foot alone just doesn't feel like a vibe. So she basically decides that she'll go wherever Eddie's gonna go, basically. Like, if he leaves, I'll go with him. If he stays, I'll stay with him. Like, wherever Eddie goes that he'll let me to go to, that's going to just be my plan. And then 6 days after arriving, Eddie calls a meeting. He tells everyone that he's going to head east. He's specifically going to follow his mentor's path. And I didn't necessarily mention them, but he was trained by two men who went out on a raid and just never came back. And so they don't necessarily know if they're alive or dead. But Eddie knows different routes that they normally took. And normally when they would go out on a raid, they would leave markings. So Eddie's plan is just, I know most recently they were heading east. So I'm just going to follow their path and hopefully pick up some markings of where they were headed and try to, like, at least figure out what happened to them. So that is the plan. Let's see. So he tells them that he's going to live the life of a raider again. He's going to travel every single day. He's happy to have others join, but they're going to have to keep up. Flora obviously is the first to sign up. Alice sighs and says that she's just going to go wherever they go. Basically, nowhere's too sad, and she would rather face something new than have to deal with rebuilding everything that's lost. So now we are on their travels. First, they arrive in Vanna. I legitimately have no fucking clue why they're in Vanna, because, like, it's been told to us over the last 2 books that Vanna is, like, heavily a trading city, so why they went there, I do not know.
Vanna?
No.
Vancouver?
No. Savannah, Georgia. So, let's see. All right, so they go...
I was way too far north because they were just in Chai.
Yeah. Also, spoilers, I had told you guys that they go to Florida, so...
They're
Yeah.
traveling.
They sure is. They sure is, girl. And they're gonna end up in San Francisco before the day is done. So... It's a slaving town, but they go there anyways. Very shortly after arriving, someone points at them and yells, "That's them." Before our trio can do anything, like, a mob has, like, descended upon them and dragged them into a pink building. Flora and Alice are shoved into a cage while Eddie is brought up on a platform, and with that, the bidding begins. Flora is pondering how she can get her guns out of her silks. Like, she has guns hidden on her body. She's not great with them. She obviously knows that they're going to need to fight their way out of this, but they're being guarded even though they're in a cage. So she's like, how do I get my guns out without anyone noticing? How do I, like, shoot people? Alice doesn't have a gun. Like, basically, how do I fight my way out of this cage and protect Alice and not get killed in the process type of thing?
Why the fuck did they go there in the first place?
Girl fucking beats me. I don't know. I do not know. So, let's see. Someone calls out, basically saying that Eddie needs to be undressed so that they can, see what they're buying. Like, these are good goats. I'm fucking, like, I'm gonna trade off. Like, I need to make sure that it's worth my purchase. So...
He's a good goat, I'm fucking.
Yeah, it's a good goat, Nick.
I
so,
didn't want that on wax.
Oh, God.
So anyways,
Oh, God.
someone calls undress her. Eddie and Flora lock eyes, and then they both pull out their guns and just start blasting. Basically, at the same time, they're like, no. Like, they don't know we have guns. If they, first of all, Eddie does not need to be, like, humiliated like that, but also, they don't know he has guns, and they're like, we certainly cannot let them undress him, just because the second they find the guns, like, we're done. So
anyway, I start blasting.
So anyways, they start blasting. Everyone is so shocked that, like, 3 women are just, like, shooting the fuck out of these men that, like, they're too stunned to do anything about it, basically.
The widow's alive, guns blazing.
So it's them, like, kind of backing to the door, and, like, Flora's like, we obviously came here by mistake, you do not need to follow us. Like, we're just gonna see ourselves out. Like, clearly we didn't mean to be here, so, like, don't fucking follow us. So they get outside, there's a carriage, like, a horse-drawn carriage sitting there. They hop on, they, are very slowly riding out, and nobody is following them, and they're just kind of like, are we good? And then as they, like, get out of Vanna, and start, like, heading out towards the water, some riders start coming up on them, so like shit. So they're like hoofing it, trying to get out. There's like a shoot off, very dramatic, giving like Red Dead Redemption vibes. They get over to the pier. Eddie's basically like, we gotta get on a boat. So people are following. There's a shootout. They climb up. They like jump up on a boat. There's a grizzled man who's like, what the fuck? And Eddie's like, you gotta sail. Like, you got passengers now, bud. We gotta go. And he's like, I don't fucking think so. And then a bullet hits one of his masts, and he's like, okay, let's go. Like, all right, cool. We're heading out. So as they set sailing, the grizzled man introduces himself as Bodhi. And Eddie's like, we're happy to work out a trade. Like, we just need to, like, we're traveling. You're on a boat. Like, let's just go. And everybody's like, okay, cool, this is fine.
You want some poison?
Yeah, right. So Eddie very specifically asks, like, are you a slaver? And Bodhi's like, no. And he's like, okay, cool, why are you here? Like, why were you in Vanna in the first place? And he's like, I trade rum. And they're like, all right, cool, like, this is gonna work then. So let's see, Future Flora tells us more about the army. So our group is just on the boat, they're sailing. Future Flora is telling us about the army. The commander is a thing of legend. Sometimes people say that the commander's a woman. Sometimes others say that the commander's a man. Always they are tall and imposing, and they are always dressed in all black with either a red sash or a red scarf around their face. Flora hypothesizes that the commander is likely more than one person. Basically, I think it's probably a small group of people that are leading this army that are just taking the turns being the figurehead type of thing. They always take girls and women. Sometimes they take men too. Some say that they always kill any pregnant women they find, while others say that just the pregnant women are taken and kept. But the only thing that they ask for, no matter what, is frags. Like, that is the only thing that they want. Back over to our gang, they have made their way to Florida. They have gotten off the boat, and they plan to head into Tona to do some trading before they get back on the boat. So, and basically, like, while the traveling has been happening, our trio have gone from essentially being like a triad, poly situation, but now that they're back on the boat with Bodhi, or now that they're on the boat with Bodhi, Eddie is back to just being super sullen and grumpy, and Alice is very much like gravitated towards Bodhi and is like spending most of her nights with him. So Flora's just feeling alone because like Eddie is crabby and wants nothing to do with anybody, and like Flora can't even like turn to Alice because she's very much like enjoying a new plaything type of thing. So Flora and Eddie, they get off the boat and they make their way to what I'm just going to call as a saloon because it's just kind of given saloon vibes. So they go, and as they're about to enter, Flora makes Eddie ask if there are like women for trade there. So Eddie's like kind of annoyed, but is like, okay, yeah, safety first, whatever. Asks the person at the door, like, are there women for sale? And he says there are, but I can see that you're all set on that. And then Eddie's like, no, I mean, like, girls, women, catamites, like, do you guys slave here? And he's like, oh, no, the king of Tona doesn't allow slavery. So they're like, okay, cool. They head inside.
Daytona?
Yeah. There's...
Jackie Daytona.
Daytona. Love that man. Also, just, he can fucking get it, man. Every time I see him. Sorry.
I just picture it, like, just addressing characters. Eddie?
I would honestly love to see Laszlo. He would be all over Flora.
He would have a metaphorical, consensual stable of horsewomen.
He sure would. You're right. You were so right.
Sorry. My favorite quote from that. That one time... obviously we are cursed. That one time the horse made love to you. I don't consider that a curse.
What is this?
What we do in the shadows.
Like, Laszlo and Nadia are like basically me and Nick, except like just goth vampire sluts.
What is this on? Like, what streaming service?
Hulu, Disney Plus.
Yeah. I highly recommend.
It's like a docu-series where they follow vampires, just kind of living their lives, being roommates and stuff.
Text it to me.
It's so good. It's so good.
Now I'm so curious.
we just
I
started
must watch
watching
an
it.
episode.
I'm sure you had to have heard some lines from TikTok.
Yeah.
You're the most devious bastard in New York City.
My chilaquiles. Oh, sorry. He's my pal, my good time boy, my rotten soldier.
Sweet cheese.
Sorry.
I cannot even bear to speak the name of that monstrosity. I don't give a fuck. His name was Mike.
Fuck Mike. All right.
Oh my god.
All right. So as we just act like big dorks.
We'll send you best ofs.
Right. Okay. So, anyways, they're sitting down. They're having a meal. A man approaches Eddie and says, like, "Hey, I heard you were looking for, like, I heard you were in the market for catamites." Eddie says, "Fuck off." Flora says, "I thought slaving wasn't allowed in Tona," and he says, "I'm not selling a slave. I'm just selling a boy. Like, he's not a slave. It's just a boy that I need to get rid of that you can buy." So Flora's like, "The fuck? Like, what is happening?" But he goes on to say that,
Fine, adopt, whatever.
it doesn't matter what they want to do with the boy. The boy just needs to get out of Tona. Like, we're just selling him off because he can't be here. So Flora's like, "Okay, cool. So obviously I'm going to be heading over to the market." So she goes to where the boys are being auctioned off. Funny side note, especially considering the conversation we had on the Book of Edda regarding future civilizations and religion. Edda stops and trades with a woman. And as the woman is closing out the sale with Flora, she says, "You will be blessed by the mouse."
Like Mickey Mouse? It's fucking great.
Oh!
You caught that shit a mile away and we're so near.
I know. I was like, I don't even think I clocked that the first time, like, I read the book. I was like, that is too fucking funny. So anyways,
Me a giant litter. Ho!
yeah, like, may the mouse bless thee. So anyways, Flora goes up, she sees the kids are for sale. She's filled with rage because she's not, in fact, looking at boys. She's looking at what to her are very obviously two little girls. One of the children is purchased by their mother. Also, side note, they're like speaking a language that Flora doesn't understand. So she looks at a woman and goes, "Do you speak this language?" And she's like, "Yeah, everybody here speaks it."
SEA?
They call it Spaniel, so I'm assuming it's like a hybrid of like Creole and Spanish, which I know Creole is like French, like a French. Anyways, the woman's like, "Yeah, everyone speaks that here." And she explains that one is being sold by their father. Their mother bought them, but they're going to have to get out of here because like that kind isn't allowed in Tona or Florida. So she basically bought her child back in order to like evacuate and like go somewhere else. So let's see. But then the other one is
So did they say they don't sell slaves, but then they're essentially doing that?
Yes. But the children that they're auctioning off, and we'll get to the crux of the issue here, but the children that they're auctioning off, they're basically trying to give to travelers to get them out of Florida. So it's like, we don't want you to keep them here and have them in slavery, but it's also not my business what you do with them because you're not going to be in Florida anyways. Like, I'm giving them to you to take them away from here. Like, we don't want them here. The easiest way to get these children out is to just sell them to somebody who isn't going to be staying here. So that's kind of what is happening.
I'm picturing like during like disaster moves or something, people like just handing their child to someone on a lifeboat or something. Like, just take them, don't worry about me, get them out of here.
Yeah, like yeah, I was just
my first thought
that
I
is
was
what
like,
you're thinking. That is not what's happening.
no, I mean my first thought was like Titanic, I have a child, but like just
Or it's a very kinder way to think about it.
Yeah.
maybe even Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where they like come upon the village, and I guess they kind of took all the children, but like they're just like begging for help, like, please do something, take my child away from here before they're taken by this cult, kind of dealy.
Yeah. Yeah, but make that dark-sided, I guess.
I mean,
It's not the place that's the issue. It's to them. It's the children that's the issue.
Oh.
So Flora asks for the translation of
first day of the month.
The translation of the word that's being used to reference the children. And I did mean to look this up, but I didn't. It's Guevedoses, is what the children are being called. Are you trying to Google it?
Like every time I click on something, Twitch opens up.
I can kind of give you the spelling. I spelled it different here just so I would know how to pronounce it, but
yeah, go ahead.
Guevedoses. Pause for definition.
Boys who are chromosomally XY, so boys, but appear to be female based on external genitalia at birth. So
yes, so they were born girls, but around age 12 they turn into boys.
So like intersexed.
Yeah.
Okay, my first thought was I'm pretty sure is an outdated term, hermaphroditic, but intersex is more acceptable.
Yes.
Are these the frag people they're talking about?
No.
Okay.
Frag is someone who can reproduce asexually.
Yeah, that's how I'm more so like, is that their belief that these type grow up into people that can do that?
Okay.
That's where my mind was going.
So just for clarification for me and anyone else, frags are like you said, asexual, just reproducing. I think maybe Jessy was thinking more like impregnating themselves.
Was it hermaphrodites?
That's
what I'm thinking.
Yeah, like they have both sets of genitalia to certain degrees, but that is not something that can be done.
Yeah, I don't think that it.
We get to find out why they have this belief because I'm curious.
Well, I think they've said like it doesn't exist, or maybe at this point it's just a legend because there was talk of it or a misconception of it in the past.
Yeah, basically what's kind of happening here is they only want cis people so that they can know who to breed.
Okay.
That type of thing. Also just like, I don't know, false advertising, like we thought we had a girl and we didn't, type of thing. But yeah, anyway, so Flora is like, okay, cool. I'm gonna obviously trade some. She's like trying to say like I have X, I have Y, I have Z to trade, and like the lady's like they're not going to take that. They don't want that. We don't have a market for that here. So then Flora's like, all right, bet. I guess I'll give up my opium. And the crowd is honestly shocked because they are like, you are way overpaying for this child. Basically, is like how the crowd is like taking that, and Flora's just like, I would have given them way more than I ended up giving them, like, but they were just shocked that I wanted to give them that much for this kid. So anyways, Flora, the sale is made. Flora gets the kid off, and once they're like kind of in private, she asks for their pronouns, basically introducing herself as Flora. She says, I know I bought you, but you only belong to yourself now, type of thing. And like, what's your name? They introduce themselves as Connie. That is not their like legal name, but apparently I fucking deleted it, so I guess it doesn't matter. But anyways, so they go by Connie. Concepcion is their name, but they go by Connie. Flora asks, she, her, he, him. Connie just shrugs and says it doesn't matter. But Flora basically very gently says like, it matters to me, like I care who you are, which one feels right to you. And Connie says, honestly, neither feel right. So Flora's like, okay, cool. So she explains to Connie that she would like to take them out of Tona, but again, Connie belongs to themselves. So I would like to take you out of here. I'm traveling with my friends. You don't have to come with us, but will you come with us? And Connie, again, is very much like Eddie and is just like, well, I don't see what choice I have. And Flora is like, again, you don't have to. I am happy to give you a basket of food and a knife and you can be on your way. but we have a boat, so if you want to come with us. And Connie's just like, well, that's not like enough to start off. And Flora's like, kind of, life's tough, kid. Like, if you're going to wait until you're ready to be out on your own, you're never gonna go on your own, type of thing. Of like, and also I started off on my own, with less than this type of thing. So like, just, the world sucks. This is what I can do to help you. So anyways, Connie is like, all right, cool. I guess I'm coming with you then. And Connie has joined the party.
Real quick, just because I was trying to skim over the Wikipedia article, just kind of curious about that. Guividoches. Dominican Republic, they are regarded as a third gender and experience ambivalent gender socialization. In adulthood, they most commonly self-identify as men, but are not necessarily completely treated as such by society. Again, Wikipedia, just look it up. But then, also, just because I know you used to watch the show, and maybe you remember, maybe you don't, Nip Tuck season 3 episode Quentin Costa, it was revealed that the character Quentin Costa had like that reductase on a chromosome, like it was in regards to them. I was just to bring it back to something that you or people may know of to connect it. And I'll put down my phone now so I can get back to you the moment.
Yes. Okay. So Flora brings Connie back to the boat. Eddie's crabby as per usual. Alice is very excited, offering to teach Connie to read while they travel. Things that we know about Connie just from travel that I cut. They don't talk about their past very much. They are an incredible artist, drawing constantly. They have incredibly excellent problem-solving skills. Flora ends up finding a Mancala set on Bodhi's boat, and Flora is trying to get Connie to play with her, and they basically watch Flora play like 3 rounds, and then they very immediately are able to deduce exactly how to win the game. And just after watching Flora play 3 times, they immediately like win and explain like, oh well, if you like do this, then there's literally no way you can lose. So like, just they have really, really great like problem solving skills, or I guess like pattern recognition, whatever you want to call that skill. Like, we all kind of know what I'm talking about. And then let's see. Oh, and that they're like fucking obsessed with Alice, like very clearly deeply in love with Alice, just following Alice around like a puppy. And so, oh, also that they were raised like a girl because their parents thought that they were a girl. And then one morning they woke up and they weren't a girl anymore, because Flora kind of asks like, how quick did the change happen? And Connie just said, I went to bed and then I woke up. Connie says, I woke up with my eggs, so testicles. So let's see. All right. Oh, and Flora tells Connie about the unnamed, suggesting that Connie use they them at that point. Basically, like, the unnamed sometimes use they them pronouns, so that might be like the best usage of pronouns for you. Connie asks Flora about frags. Flora tells them that she doesn't believe that frags exist, and Connie just kind of argues, you didn't know people like me existed until a couple days ago, though. And so Flora's like, I guess that's true. Fast forward.
Stop showing me up, child.
Right. Our group is going ashore again to do some trading. They head inland where they come upon a circle of small huts. The group approaches the huts. A man exits the hut and just yells, travelers or traders. Eddie says, we've come to trade, and then all of a sudden all of the huts open and just like men are coming out, like creating like just crates of shit, like just everyone's like ready to trade. Like, okay,
I would
cool.
love to see this cinematically.
Yeah, I know. Especially because they're all like dressed in like gator skin and stuff. Yeah, so, and then a little boy runs out of the forest with a satchel, and his hands are like fucking red as shit and like swollen, and he runs up to Connie and goes, honey, and like cuts a piece of honeycomb off and hands it to Connie, and and then Connie's like, oh my god, this shit's so good. And then the kid goes, I get to trade first, like, back off, bitches. So anyways, they come ashore, the huts swing open, boxes, crates of goods, trading begins to happen. The leader asks Eddie to sit and trade stories. Basically, like, once you guys are done getting what you need, like, please sit with us and, like, trade stories with us. So one of the things that the village offered for trade, because, like, as everybody comes out, the leader is Papa Croc, and so he's like, they'll trade their mouth. He'll obviously trade honey. This person will trade, like, forever marks. Like, basically, like, if here's what you want, here's the people that you will go to. And yes, you did clock what I said correctly. So let's see. So they sit down to trade stories, and
his name is Steven Tyler, and his best friend over there, Gene Simmons.
Yes. So Bodhi's like, what is a forever mark exactly? And so the leader pulls up his pant leg, and he has the image of a boar tattooed on his leg with, like, huge tusks. And he explains that a forever mark is to show a time that you were brave. He then begins to tell them of a story of a time where he killed a god, saying that he wears the god's skin. So obviously a crocodile. He begins the story with, in the old times when women still walked the earth, they were called crocodiles. Our gang is, like, very much like when women still walked the earth. Like, what is happening there? But anyways, he goes on to tell the stories that back in the day, crocs were much smaller, and they were kept in people's homes and taught to play games. And then once women left the earth, crocs got bigger, and they ate up the men and the corruption in the old world. He goes on to tell them that there was a croc as big as a tree, and when he was a young boy, he killed her. He then guarded her eggs and waited for the next god to hatch. And now he's known as Papa Croc. So Alice laughs and tells him that she really enjoyed the story, because it was, like, this big thing of, like, the boy, like, stabbed her in the jaw, and then she started rolling, and he waited until she was on her back, and, like, slit her stomach open, and, like, baby crocs came out. Like, it was just, like, this whole thing.
He stunned the enemy before delivering the final blow.
Right. So Alice giggles, and she goes, like, that's a really great story, but why did you say when women still walked the earth? And Eddie is just not loving that she even brought that up in the first place. He's like, girl, shut the fuck up. What are you doing? And then Flora adds that they must know that women are still alive. She's like, you guys have to know women are real. You were all born. And then Papa Croc, basically everyone starts laughing, and Papa Croc goes, I was born from a crocodile egg. And then the little boy jumps up and goes, I was born out of a beehive. And Alice is just like, what the fuck is happening?
What in the Delulu?
Right. So let's see.
Hey, try these tabs we sell. These are really good.
Yeah, she's like, that's not how any of this works. And Papa Croc says that there aren't women anymore. Alice, again, beautiful idiot, she stands up and takes off her shirt. And Eddie is, like, trying to stop her. And Bodhi's just like, hell yeah, get your tits out, girl. And so Papa Croc looks at her boobs and just starts laughing. And he goes, anyone can have those. And then the fellow that trades his mouth is, like, scowling. He's like, yeah, anyone can do that. So our group asks, okay, what makes a real woman then? And they basically say, well, like, giving birth, duh, and we've never seen a baby come out of anybody, so women aren't real. And so Flora obviously doesn't love that definition of what a woman is.
Yeah.
And Alice goes, how do you know none of us gave birth? And so Papa Croc goes, okay, show us your forever mark. Where's your lightning? If you don't have lightning, you don't have a baby. If you don't have a baby, you're not a woman. Basically calling stretch marks forever marks. And if you follow his line of reasoning, that means that in their mind, giving birth is, like, a feat of bravery, which is, like, kind of cute, right? What?
I have a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
There have been several points where I'm like, one, like, it's like with Alma and stuff, like, one part of their logic is, like, very progressive, but then also, or maybe I'm thinking of Alma and Shy. Like, some of their logic is, yeah, very progressive,
Yeah.
but then also, if you look just over, like, one side or the other, what the hell is that? And it's completely, like, this book, while still very political, like, it kind of plays both sides, not in a meta sense, but, like, it's taking, showing both sides in almost a absurd
Yeah.
Obviously an absurd reality.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, kind of making a caricature of, like, how people think, right? Like, but no, I get what you're saying a lot.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, the definition of what a woman is, you try to challenge someone's perception of that. Well, they can give birth. Okay, so by that logic, a woman who is sterile, or
Correct.
yeah, it breaks down every facet of someone's belief,
Yeah.
but that at this point they just ignore because it doesn't fit their definition, and people will change the definition to fit their beliefs rather than change their beliefs fitting the definition.
And, like, part of, like, obviously, clearly, we know that these men are, like, clearly incredibly ignorant. Before they ask to see her forever marks, they go, prove it. If you can have a baby, have one right now. And she's like, that's not how any of this works. But at this point, Bodhi is even like, bitch, you need to chill the fuck out. Like, girl, stop. Like, first of all, you shouldn't be provoking them. Second of all, again, women are seen as a commodity almost everywhere. Like, please don't, like, incentivize them to try to, like, take you away. This is crazy.
You're so smart. Stop being dumb.
Right. So anyways, basically, no lightning, no baby, no woman. And then
no woman, no cry.
He very immediately goes, okay, another story of bravery. Like, he's just, like, done with the conversation. And then Bodhi jumps up and starts telling a story of bravery, killing a monster, whatever. Flora's listening to Bodhi's story and thinking, like, that is absolutely not a thing that happened in reality. And then she thinks to herself that if she told the story of Eddie slaying a lion and a tiger, that chances are really good that this group will think that that was fake when it actually happened. And then she thinks to herself that she's been in a lot of, like, sitting circles where people are just trading stories like this, and it's always men, even though women are in their stories and women are an object in their stories. Like, she's never heard these stories come from women. So she's just kind of, like, having that sort of existential moment of, like, why is it always a man's story, right? So Bodhi is, like, finishing up his story, and a group of hunters are hauling a bunch of their kills into town. One of the hunters, like, locks onto Eddie very aggressively, and is just staring at their group, but very specifically staring at Eddie. So Alice clocks this and scoots in closer to Bodhi. Flora also clocks this and stands up. Eddie's just, like, fully ignoring them until someone goes, Etta, is that you? And Eddie looks and goes, who the hell? And then he realizes, like, oh shit, that's one of my raiding mentors, the ones that they have come on this journey to find. Yeah, so two mentors basically come to find out the two mentors, they left because they were roommates. He goes on to tell Eddie that most of the raiders that just never returned to nowhere were roommates and decided to leave. And Eddie is just kind of like, you're allowed to live there, they just give you the side eye. And he goes, they accepted you because we left. Like, basically, like, we paved the way for you guys to have a more comfortable existence because people kept leaving, and they were like, shit, we better chill the fuck out because we can't have a bunch of people just up and leaving, right? So it was kind of like, we walk so you could run type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then, let's see. And then he basically says that there's a lot of places where there's laws against roommates, so it's really hard to live freely. And when they found these men who just really didn't give a shit because they don't think women are real anyway, so they don't care what people do, he's like, we just kind of stayed here. My partner got the fever, he passed away. And then, but as they're talking about, like, it's really hard for people like us to live freely, Connie gets really frustrated, saying that, well, yeah, there has to be laws against unnatural things because babies have to be born. And so Flora gently says, like, Connie, you don't need to justify what's been done to you. Like, you don't need to justify, like, other people's behaviors towards you. And Connie just gets really frustrated and storms out of the hut. Later that night, Connie ends up picking up the Book of the Unnamed and reading it. The next morning, Flora tells them that they're going to be heading back to the ship, and that they're going to go south and then head west. And so Connie asks why they don't just stay there, saying that they like the way that the swamp men think about things. Like, basically, Connie agrees with their sort of view on womanhood and is like, well, why don't we just stay here? Like, these people are nice. I vibe with how they vibe, so let's just stay here. And Flora very much is just like, do you really think that? Because Connie goes on to say, like, well, if things would be better if women weren't real anyways, because people wouldn't fight as much if there weren't any women. And Flora's like, yo, really? Like, is that how you actually think? Let's see. They go on to say, like, well, Eddie isn't a woman because he decided he's not a woman, and you're a woman because you decided to be a woman. And I was a woman until I wasn't a woman anymore. And there's basically no rules to these things anyway, so why does it even fucking matter? Finishing by saying that if the only thing that matters is who can give birth, then, and none of us can give birth, then none of us are women at all, like, or ever were women. So Flora and Eddie are just standing there, like, too stunned to speak, like, well, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? So fast forward, we're back to Flora writing in her journal.
Who let this child watch the Manosphere?
Right, exactly. And they're back on the boat, so this is kind of like our present day rather than future Flora. And Flora is pondering how she can help Connie, saying that their way of thinking is not only narrow-minded, it's cruel, and that their way of thinking is what allows men like the Lion to even exist in the first place. They go on to tell us that Connie bounces around the boat mimicking others' actions. Basically, they'll lock on to someone and then just sort of mimic how they're like moving and speaking, as if they're like picking up and putting down like ways of gender expression, like as if they're just changing their coat every single day.
Or changing like the way that you may have just said this, so I apologize if I'm repeating, but like the way that they speak, or like an accent to like mimic someone that they're talking to.
Like that, yes, but more so just sort of their mannerisms and the way that they're like moving their body type of thing.
Yeah, I was kind of echolalia.
Yeah. No,
but,
yeah.
But also masking to fit in.
Yeah. Let's see. So
Tism.
Yes. Flora says that there's so many ways to be a person, and there's many examples of it on this boat alone. There are thousands of ways to be yourself, and she just hopes that Connie will find their own way and figure out how to be themselves.
Got a big purple dinosaur that has a whole bunch of lessons about this, and a big yellow bird too.
Yes.
Barney in Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just be yourself, and there's no wrong way to be yourself unless you're an asshole. I learned that from Big Bird.
Yeah.
Said it himself.
I love you. You love me.
We're a happy family. Okay, so
Is that is your background just staring at me?
yeah,
Yeah, we got
my milkshakes.
stared at as a background.
So anyways, back to Future Flora. The Banbridge Council are meeting as the army is approaching. Alice comes in. Flora thinks to herself that no matter how much their relationship has changed and evolved over the years, or the number of men and women in Alice's hive, she still fully worships Alice. At one point, she even tells us that giving birth has made Alice's body more generous and lovable, which I just fucking love so much. The council is arguing over if they should evacuate the island or stay. Some that are arguing they should stay is basically like there's nowhere to run. Like if we leave Banbridge, they're still just going to keep coming. Like where are we even gonna go that they're not going to come? Like, right? It feels like they're after entire annihilation. No matter what city we go to, they'll be there at some point and they'll kill us anyways, right? And then others are saying, okay, but there are other armies they've come up against who have been way stronger than we are that have been very quickly defeated. Like if we stay, we have no way of surviving anyways. They do decide to stay, and there is a bridge from the island to the mainland, wherever it is that Banbridge is. So they do end up fully like destroying the bridge, and they're like, this sucks, and it's probably going to take us many years to even rebuild that bridge, but like we would have to be alive to rebuild it, right? So like this is our best way, is to make it so that it's incredibly hard for them to even get to us. So they end up saying that's like kind of the plan. Also, this doesn't really end up mattering anyways, but Alice does confirm that they do in fact have a plane, and that the reason that they haven't seen the plane is that they are hauling the plane on land. But they have been hearing what they say is a mosquito noise slowly getting closer and closer. And so Alice is saying they're dragging the plane and turning it on periodically so that they're terrorizing us, like so that they know we know that they're coming, and this is basically just like kind of their ticking time bomb of them getting to us. Anyway, so they're like, we can't run, we can't stay, and Flora says, all right, I guess I'll talk to them. Like, like, okay, cool, I'll talk it out. And Alice is like, okay, that'll be our plan. So they all like sit down and actually make up like a really solid, effective plan, including blowing the bridge.
Wait, is this the future them talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're like, the army's coming, we can't run, we can't stay, and Flora's like, I guess we'll try to reason with them, like, because that's the only thing that even feels remotely practical.
They're all super old at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you are trying to reason with them. I'm going to practice bending over so I can kiss my ass goodbye.
Yes. So now we're back over to our gang. One night, everybody's sitting up on deck, they're watching whales. They're having a nice little chat. Eddie and Flora officially and fully make up for Eddie trying to shoot her. People are talking about their moms. Connie asks Alice why she doesn't have children. Alice shrugs and says that she's just been lucky. And Connie well, because she's out here. She's in these streets. She's enjoying her body and others' bodies.
No, I've heard a lot of good responses to why people don't have kids, and just that level of like confidence. I enjoy that.
George is lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, Connie asks if Alice could have kids if she wanted to. Connie basically goes like, "But you can have kids, right? Like if you wanted to." And Alice smiles and just said, "Well, it's not really up to me." And she explains that you don't just decide to have a baby and then you get pregnant. Like that's not really how it works. Like there's luck involved. Like you don't just make the choice and then boom, you have a baby. And Connie then asks, well, you're doing the thing that makes babies, right? And then looks between like Bodhi and Eddie. And then everybody's like, and this conversation's over. Like just stop it.
This kid's gotta be a plant.
Psyop.
Yeah, because
I wonder if they regret giving their opium for this kid.
My opium.
See, the kid's very intelligent, like very much like learning and developing thoughts, but also might be becoming a psychopath. I don't know.
It doesn't seem like they're thinking for themselves, because
I feel like there's just they have a lot of questions.
Yeah, and curiosity is good.
But the answers that they are being given are not being like taken to heart.
Correct.
Not adequate.
That is that.
Yeah, like I was just telling you, like
It sounds like such a kid thing. Like, well, why? Well, why? But why?
And
why?
that is a good thing. And the way that they like piece together like their train of logic does make sense, but they are also again, Alice is a fucking midwife. Like basically asking an expert in this field of science and getting good answers and being like, no, that doesn't make sense. Like, so it is frustrating, but their train of logic generally does and will continue to make sense, you know?
Oh, yeah, I'm like, so far, their logic's, how old?
Like 12, 13.
Okay,
yeah, so they're past
I feel
that.
like Connie's going to be a very intelligent person. That makes me feel
I have a theory on where Connie's gonna end up, but no, I was
over the board, over the deck if they keep it up.
Person overboard. No, I mean, Brittney, you were just talking about like how kids are like more understanding than like they're given credit for. Like we always see. How am I going to explain two men kissing to our child, or the thread I saw on Threads, how am I going to explain death to them? Explain it. Like, actually
Yeah.
talk with them. Don't be afraid of upsetting them, because upsetting means that they understand. Understanding leads to not being afraid, which leads to more intelligent.
Right.
I'll never understand why parents think that bringing these conversations up will be so damning. Because my mother I had the conversation of death and sex at a very young age as warnings and safety, and it didn't make me do anything crazy. Younger, if anything, I waited until after I was 18 to make any decisions.
Right.
Crazy.
Also, you generally want them to have the correct knowledge rather than them get incorrect knowledge or make up their own answers. Like, again, the death thing that you and I were discussing yesterday, like, generally speaking, whatever sort of conclusion you would come to on your own with not having actual information, a lot of times is probably much scarier than the truth, right? Like, if you just get the truth. Also, if you hide things in this shroud of secrecy and shadow, it will inherently potentially make kids way more curious about it anyways, which could lead them to exploring things in an inappropriate or unsafe manner, right? So and our crew generally does answer their questions, although they very much will ask super fucking inappropriate things. At one point, Flora will make a comment well, I'm cut, and Connie goes, cut how? Cut where? And Flora's just dude, that is so personal. Why do you need to know the answer to that question, type of thing? Of I'm happy to explain how the body works, but I don't necessarily want to tell you really personal details about my body personally, type of thing. And it's you really need to tell this kid, because their curiosity is gonna lead them down such crazy paths if you don't, and potentially not answering their questions clearly will incentivize them to feel like you're keeping secrets or whatever.
The first thing they gotta teach Connie is personal space.
But Alice, when Connie's well, you're doing the thing that makes babies, right? Alice is you don't get to ask me that. You don't deserve the answer to that question. That's not your business. That's not your place. It's not an appropriate question to ask somebody.
They're well within the rights to be uncomfortable and not want to talk about it, but by answering the questions, being 100% honest, by rights they should stop. Although the fact that they just I'm thinking about this in current times, obviously future dystopia. I don't know, 12, 13-year-old asking very personal questions like that. Get that, obviously therapy doesn't exist, but psychopathy, sociopathy, some kind of lack of
empathy.
Yes.
Yeah, and just as important it is for a kid to understand how the world works, it is also important for the kid to understand
boundaries,
in what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, right? So both lessons are important. It's just triaging which one is more important to sort of instill in that moment, right? Okay, so we're getting to the good shit. Well, I love this.
Yeah, compared to Etta, this there's a self-discovery in both, but it seems so much more low stakes. Considering Etta, there's kind of there was a big bad, in a, as we had brought up, Negan or Governor sense in terms of Walking Dead. This one, there's obviously some kind of
big bad,
an army that I'm more picturing. The future Flora. More niche reference, but Revolution, that show where all power was lost, so they were kind of building armies in a Civil War / American Revolution style school way. But obviously they have guns, tanks, and whatnot. It seems so much more low stakes because they didn't really defeat Alma. They're just you suck, let us out of here. And now kind of dealing with I really want to call them chuds. I don't think that's the right word, but people who don't like understand what a woman is and don't believe
Yes. Okay.
women when they explain. I didn't just learn that word, but the fact that it's being used like as an insult so much lately, it's been stuck in my head.
What is the word?
Chud.
Chud.
So
Definition, please.
I'm
old.
I will look up the like official, but
It
there was
in our day that was just kind of used to be like a loser type of thing.
Oh, okay.
yeah. So it comes from I think there was an Urban Dictionary. There's an 80s movie called Chud. It stood for Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, so like monster radiation movie or nuclear waste movie. But it has since been used lately. Apparently, okay, Urban Dictionary, so take it with a grain of salt. Popularized by Clerks 2, in which the term was used as an intensifier to describe someone's unattractiveness.
Okay.
Term used to describe people who profess beliefs that fall out of the average right-wing praxis, such as fascists, ultranationalists, tradcasts, anarcho-capitalists. But then, it has begun to mean like fool, loser. The anime, you and I are polar opposites. There's a guy who's just like in a completely utter depressed state, and he just goes, "I'm such a chud."
Are you sure you're not LARPing that?
LARPing as a chud? My entire fucking life.
Mean,
It's okay. I thought
LARPing
it was
as someone who likes
literally-
anime.
I thought it was LARP, like as in like, let's go get dressed in some beautiful wear and go stage a fight.
I did have to look up that, not because I didn't know what it meant, but just to make sure I got the
We're elderly.
Gen Alpha definition, because apparently
Really, I'm just a fucking nerd.
apparently children watch our content.
Can't just
I just want to LARP, man.
like what you like.
No, absolutely not. Although
Also, I love that, like, back in our day you were a poser, but now apparently you're LARPing.
What does that mean again?
Live action RPG? No, wait, live action roleplay, sorry.
That's what I believe. But what was the context used?
saying that you're basically you're posing, you're
Posing, yeah.
a fake fan, which
So you're live action role playing being a fan of something.
specifically that clip, and we can cut this if we want to.
No.
Me talking about Uma Musume. So if you don't think that I play video games and watch anime, what gives you that impression?
I had to Google half the shit he said, and they were real people.
And my thing was
honestly-
like, okay, did you just have like a weird take on like Golden Doodle or whatever the fuck?
oh wow, Golden Doodle.
I love that. Golden Doodle. No, but I thought
I'm like, would Golden Doodle stand for it? Is that the issue?
not to interpret their comment, but it really seemed like they were calling like maybe one of you LARPers because you were involved in the conversation, but I was the one that was talking. So
I know, and I was just making like silly. But then that would be a media literacy issue, right? Because I was like, are they?
Probably
Uma
us,
girls?
honestly, because like you were like, "What the hell?" and then I had to
That-
Google it. But I
that's-
knew the Uma girls because Uma's horse in Japanese.
Yeah,
so-
but
That's-
like
that's-
I was just like, I was clearly just being sarcastic and playing into a bit. And if you didn't get that and you thought I was LARPing my sarcasm, then again, media literacy.
I wasn't sure if I was reading too much into it, if they thought that you were the LARPers because you were involved in the clip.
I
I
thought-
was the one that was talking, so apparently I am some kind of popular cool guy and not the
I thought you didn't know what he was talking about when I was doing the clip.
dork that I've been for 38
No,
years.
I knew what he was talking about because like I knew what he was talking about in terms of the horse girl game. I knew is just because he's talked to me about it, so I knew what he was referencing. I didn't necessarily know what he was saying, but
I could name like 10 horses right now, some of them made up, and you would know,
He's
know
like,
which
I'm
is which.
proving I'm a horse fan.
But like, you say like really weird ass shit, and I just play into the bit, even though I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about all the time, anyways.
Because you accept that my style is niche, obscure references.
Yeah.
The ones that get it think I'm LARPing, and the ones that don't get it just kind of shake their head and go, "Yeah, sure."
But what if they did mean live action role play?
My first thought was, replying to the comment, I put on my robe and wizard's hat. Fireball.
Fireball, fireball,
just
fireball.
slip on my Uma ears and go to what was the game that they went to? Because that's the first I ever heard about it. Was my friends were telling me that there were people that bought $1,000 tickets for front row for this sport.
Was it America?
I think so.
The Kentucky Derby. When I was thinking,
No, not Kentucky Derby. It was an actual it's a sports team that kind of sounds like horse.
The
Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos.
Maybe the Broncos. And
Yeah,
they
they
all dressed up as Umas.
That was their first big American push. Was them becoming fans of Umas becoming fans of the Broncos because they're Broncos and showing up dressed in
Yes. Okay. No,
yeah,
I know
cosplaying
that,
and stuff.
I know that you straight up said that in an episode.
Oh, it's funny because I'm like I have no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah,
Until
that was brought up in one of the earlier. I think it was in here, but one of the earlier episodes.
Yeah, just because I'm a dork and I like listening to our episodes. So, also I help edit, so I listen to it multiple times. Which is also really funny when I'll be listening to myself talk and I'll be like, oh shit, I was straight up laying down some sick shit that I didn't even clock at the time. In Edda, I had a whole conversation tangent, and then listening back to it, I'm I'm just legitimately describing me and my own mother right now, and I wasn't even coming from that place when I was saying the things that I was saying. I was just like, God damn, okay, that's funny. But yeah, anyways, so sorry. I know I wasn't talking yet. Were there any other questions, comments, or concerns before I head back into this? Because I fully lost the plot.
No.
I have a couple things I've written down, but we'll wait until the end.
Whatever you've clocked, I'm certain you're correct.
I know nothing.
Don't say it. Don't spoil. But you made a comment. I'm certain that you are correct in where you thought it was going.
Pattern recognition.
Even though I don't know what your thought was, I'm certain you're correct. So anyways, fast forward. They our present day, our crew, they have come up to an island. They're deciding if they want to offboard the ship and go up to the island. They see men on the beach. They're just kind of they seem like they have a friendly vibe. Do we want to risk it for the biscuit? But before they can decide if they want to approach the island, a bunch of boats come out. And
good for them.
Yes. So just men from the shore get on boats. They come up to the big ship. And they call out to our gang. One of them just goes, librarians? And Eddie goes, what? And he goes, librarians? And then everybody on the ship is just and so then they throw a bolo at Eddie and just fully take him out. So basically they're like, you guys librarians? And they're like, what the fuck? And then they're like, okay, cool. Good night. Have a nap. So our crew wakes up. They are now on the beach tied to stakes in the ground. It's fully dark and there's a bunch of fog out on the water. And Flora's looking out at the water, and all of a sudden she starts seeing because all the men are on the beach facing out towards the foggy water, and then Flora starts to see lantern lights emerging from the fog. But there's so many fucking lanterns, she's having a really hard time processing what she's seeing, because she's like, how big is that ship and how many fucking people are on it? Clearly there's a ship coming towards us, but this thing is huge. And as
it's a cruise ship doing an Akira bike slide.
It's an aircraft carrier.
Oh.
So it's fucking massive. And Flora is noticing more lanterns, and she's beginning to make out the shapes of people on the ship, and she is very certain that the figures that she's seeing are in fact women. Someone basically offboards the ship and comes up to the man and says, you have two women? And he confirms yes, and then she asks,
wait, sorry. Okay, I just put something together. I go on.
She says, you have two women? He says yes. She says, are they well? Are they young? Flora clocks that he's addressing her as mother, even though she doesn't seem to be especially old, probably in her 40s. She definitely seems just very wise and mature type of thing, but not like elderly.
In a drag queen excited mother sense, or a Daffy Duck mother sense? Like, he's afraid of her.
I guess more so a drag queen type sense. Like it's
Slay.
Yeah, it's clearly like
Okay, now I feel like a LARPer. You throw it.
You throw it. It's like an honorific type thing. Okay, so the woman approaches our gang, but she's clearly honed in on Eddie. And she asks Eddie if he's a keeper of women, and he literally says, "No, the fuck, I'm not a slaver. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?" And so she looks at, like, Eddie's clearly just, like, he's had it, right? He's like,
I would too.
What is happening? Like, no, I'm not a fucking slaver, but also, why am I tied to a stake? So then she looks at Flora and goes, "Is this true? Are you free?" And Flora says, "Well, no, I'm tied to a stake, but normally, yeah." Like, not presently, but usually I am. And
I picture them being like, woman, like, what's going on here? Oh, I just saw a clip from one of the, like, Batman Justice League shows. Batman's like, "I don't work with teenagers," and whoever he's working with, like, shapeshifts into Robin. He's like, point taken.
Yes. So the woman introduces herself as Dell. She tells them that she's the mother librarian. She unties them and apologizes for their, like, basically greeting that they received. But she says there's a lot of slavers up and down the coast that we've been dealing with, so we just have to come out guns blazing with everybody. So, like, I'm really sorry. Obviously, I'm sure you understand the precautions we need to take. And so Flora is, like, looking all over, and she notices that there's at least 40 women on this beach, and they're just straight chilling, and very oddly, some of the women have, like, the full-grown fishermen in their laps, like, breastfeeding them. And they're just like, what is happening? Eddie explains they came from the Missouri, and they are came around Florida and are currently looking for Midwife's Bay. And the librarian goes, "Do you mean the Missouri? And are you looking for the San Francisco Bay?" And Eddie goes, "Well, based on the Midwife's book, yeah, I would assume that it is, in fact, the San Francisco Bay that we're looking for." And Dell immediately goes, "A book?" And Eddie was like, "Yeah, well, it's like a journal from the dying." And she goes, "Tell me everything." So they go and they sit down, and Eddie is basically uncapping the lore of the Unnamed.
Wait. We have to start a podcast first.
Right. And yes, Flora is like, I have never heard Eddie say this many words or talk this long to anybody ever. Like, but Eddie's very animated. He's super excited. Just kind of like a nerd sharing his special interest type of thing. So, like, Flora's like, Eddie's vibing here.
Do you want to know about Gundams? I got a lot about Gundams. Do you want to know about Bionicle? I know a lot about Bionicle.
Yes.
Trains! Oh my god, trains!
So Dell is basically like, "Do you have these books? Like, do you have this book here? And if so, can I have a copy of it before you leave and go wherever it is you're trying to go?" And Flora is just like, "There are 20 volumes, and I don't necessarily know that we want to stay here this long." And Dell goes, "I have 20 scribes. Like, we can knock them all out at the same time."
I'm like, "You need scribes."
Yeah. So she's basically explaining that they keep books from the old world. They copy, collect, and preserve rare books, aka very specifically journals, is what they're maintaining here. And they are the library of the New World. Dell tells them that she'd like to copy. She's got 20 scribes. We're good to go. And so Dell brings them aboard the ship. It's basically just the ship is the library, and Flora is fully awestruck at how massive this ship is. Dell tells them that this is the Alexandria, and that they are, let's see, as they're making their way through the ship, Flora and Eddie clock that the ship is only women, and Dell explains that boys and men learn to fish and they become fishermen. They live ashore. Women are trained as librarians and they stay on the ship. They come to shore about like twice a week to just kind of hang out with the dudes. But men are never allowed on the ship at all, period. And so Eddie goes, but you let me on the ship? And she goes, oh yeah, we have people like you here. And then she looks over at Flora and we have women like you too. Like, basically, like, I know what's up, and like, yeah, you guys are welcome, but like cis men aren't welcome.
I would like, take me, please.
Right, exactly. So let's see. She explains that very specifically they copy journals, and very specifically their like point of interest is from the dying, like people who were alive during that point in time, but like any journals they will copy. So basically, like the diary of a 15-year-old from like the 60s, they would be interested in as well. They are trying to keep like history alive, essentially.
I've got a laptop with a whole bunch of live journal links.
Right. But they are interested in the history of how the world they're living in now was built. And Eddie says, like, I got stories, babe, and I'm sure you don't have half of what I know here in this library. And so Del asks, like, well, will you stay with us and help us with our work? Like, we would love to record your stories. Like, are you willing to stay with us? And Eddie basically just looks around at all the books he's standing amongst and just starts fucking sobbing. And basically saying that this is where they were meant to be all along, sobbing that his mother had always wanted him to leave his story behind. So he's just like, this is home. And then just to quote Del, this is the work that women do. We keep the fire of civilization burning by collecting and protecting its stories. It's what women have always done. And so Flora thinks back to the picture of the librarian she saw when she was in Demons. And then if we weren't already positive that this is where Eddie belongs, shortly after this conversation happens, there's like a hubbub up on deck. A slave ship is approaching, and so basically, ready your battleship, queens. They go, they sink the ship. Eddie is like, the fuck? And she's like, she goes, we kill slavers on sight, but we're gonna go fish the women out of the water. Like, that's fine. The women are gonna come aboard, like, but also death to fucking men. And so Eddie is like, fuck yes. Like, he's ready.
That's why the men become fishermen, so they can fish the women out.
Right, exactly.
That's great.
So Eddie has found his people. Before he leaves, he does give Flora the unnamed gun, telling Flora that she is now the one that's following the unnamed. Like, this is your journey. Like, my journey stops here. This is where I belong. So Flora, Alice, Bodhi, and Connie set in sail. And Connie, again, forces another sex ed lesson on the king. Alice is pregnant at this point, and he wants to know how it happened and why she's so certain it's Bodhi's and not Flora or Eddie's. Because, again, the gang is still, they be fucking. Alice is just, like, out here. So Connie's just like, I know you have fucked everybody on the ship except me, so, like, how do you know it's Bodhi's? And so, let's see. Flora explains that Eddie and Alice couldn't possibly have a baby because, Eddie doesn't have the right equipment. It always has to be a man and a woman. Connie processes this and then asks why it couldn't be Flora's then, and Flora explains that she was cut as a child. Connie asks, cut how? Flora's like, bro, chill. So Connie then says that they don't understand why some people have babies and some don't. Why some die and some are just born wrong. Then asking if they could have a baby or get somebody pregnant. Everybody basically tells Connie, like, we don't know the future. Like, you don't know until it happens, basically, type of thing. Like, there's no way for you to know this information until it either does or doesn't happen. And so, let's see.
Only one person can predict the future, and they turned out to be an asshole.
Right. Basically, it all comes down to luck. And Connie does not like this answer, basically saying, like,
I make my own luck.
If the whole of civilization is based on babies being born, like, how can there not be a concrete answer to these things? Like, how could it possibly be just luck if this is so important? So Connie then says that they were born a girl and they could have had a hive and they could have had children, and then they woke up one day and now there's something that nobody can love. And Flora tells Connie that they can still have a hive if they want and they can still be a parent. Like, there's so many ways to become a parent that isn't through giving birth, basically saying, like, I'm your parent. I became your parent. So, like, there are other ways to have those futures if that's what you want. Like, you being something different doesn't mean that you can't do the things that you want to do. It just means you maybe have to do them a little differently. And so, let's see. 6 months later, oh, hang on, wait. Oh, anyway, so Alice kind of ends this conversation by saying that she's very happy to sit with Connie and really talk them through the process and, like, draw diagrams and, like, sit down with them and, like, really help them fully understand. And so 6 months later, while sailing, they land on Bambridge, which we know is where they will end up staying. When they arrived, it was just a small fishing and farming community. As they settled in, basically Alice and Bodhi taking one house and Flora and Connie taking another house. They set up, they're living, they're integrating into society. But Connie is fully obsessed with Alice at this point, like spending all of their time at Alice's house, like basically waiting on Alice hand and foot. But eventually Alice comes to Flora and she clearly looks like exhausted and not like she's not doing super great. And Alice sits with Flora and basically says that Connie won't stop asking the same questions over and over and over again, and it doesn't matter how many times Alice explains these answers to them, they just aren't understanding and they're not happy with the answers that they're being given. Like, no matter how many times Alice explains reproduction to them or shows them books or draws them diagrams, they're still just asking the same questions repeatedly, like, how does it happen? And so Alice is starting to feel kind of scared because, like, they're getting a little aggressive, like, and angry that they're not getting the answers that they think that they should be getting. So she also confides in Flora that Connie thinks that Alice fragged herself. So, like, Connie is convinced that Alice impregnated herself, and it doesn't matter how many times Alice explains that that's not what happened. Connie will just not take that as an answer. Flora sits Connie down and very directly tells them that fragging isn't real, that it's a process between a man and a woman, and that's how it's always been and how it always will be. And Connie argues that in the old world, people could have babies alone with a doctor's help, so that isn't entirely true. Like, in the old world, people had babies alone, so it can't have to always be a man and a woman. And so maybe this is just something new. And Connie is just, like, getting really, really angry because Flora's, like, just kind of said fast, it has to be man and woman. This isn't just, like, a new thing. Like, this is just how it's always been and how it always will be. So Connie storms out of the room and picks up a textbook and notes on evolution and, like, slams it down in front of her. And begins ranting that evolution happens when the environment pressures something to change. So why couldn't this be a change taking place because the species is actively dying out? Which is, like, a totally reasonable line of logic. It has been hundreds of years since the dying that is theoretically long enough that a species could start evolving to cope with that issue, right? Like, the species is going to die out because there's not enough women, so it would only make sense that people would evolve to be able to just reproduce alone, right? Like,
but at that point you have to get into not like the scientific method, but like, okay, hypothetically, if this were to happen once, it would be some kind of miracle. It would need to happen multiple times for it to, like, actually be proof of it happening. So, like,
it would begin
let's
with
wait until
one, and then you'd have to genetically pass that on, and that is such a long ass fucking process.
Let's wait to see if there is some kind of confirmation, a second source, before you start getting aggressive every time someone opens their gums.
Right. It's like Connie very much is smart and is having, like, very, in my opinion, like, scientific hypotheses, right? They cite that asexual reproduction does exist in nature. Evolution happens in the way that they have described it happening. And Flora is like, well, asexual reproduction is like lizards and reptiles. They don't have babies in the same way that people do, so you can't really apply that set of rules to humans.
They come from eggs. Don't women have eggs? Damn, you got me there.
Right, and then evolution takes a really, really long time. It doesn't just all of a sudden happen. And then they cite a certain evolution that happened amongst moths very quickly. And Flora's like, but people aren't moths and people aren't reptiles. Like, these are very different things still. You can't necessarily apply these lines of logic in the way that you are and be so certain that you're correct.
It's kind of the opposite of a special interest, where it's like you're doing whatever research, but you're like ignoring everything that
confirmation bias is what it is that you're looking at everything to prove your point rather looking at information to see if it proves your point, you know.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said that they were planned.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to get rid of Connie before Connie gets them killed.
So Flora asks why they're so obsessed with this, and they reply that they want to see what's next for the human race. They want to see a world where women aren't being kept to make sure that they reproduce. Flora very gently tells Connie that if women were only kept to reproduce, then Flora would have never been a slave in the first place. Basically, like, women aren't just kept for people to make babies with. Like, that's not the reason that women are being held in captivity. And then, let's see. Connie is still 10 toes down, basically saying that Flora doesn't know that she can't get pregnant. She doesn't know what's possible. And so, basically, it doesn't make sense to keep slaves without believing that there is some lasting good that will come of it. Basically, it's like, why would people do this to other people if they weren't doing it for some greater good type of thing?
Baby.
Yeah, and so again, it would seem that all of this is Connie's way of trying to understand why people would do something so horrific to others, which, again, really great curiosity and they are making connections that are logical for them to be making, even if they're wrong. They're just not open to the fact that they're wrong, which is
dangerous.
Where the issues are coming. Yes, exactly. And it makes sense why, like, a preteen into teenage, because they're about 14, 15 around this time, maybe, just based on how old they were when they joined the team. Like, it makes sense for them to want to wrap their head around why these horrific things would happen, right? Like, and it does make sense why they're curious about these things. And so Flora basically says not everything has a reason, and people do all sorts of shit that just doesn't make sense. Like, you can't apply logic to everything, basically. And so Connie snatches up their book and their notes, and tells Flora that she's never going to understand. But Flora basically says, you're never going to understand. Like, you're the one that's not understanding things. You're the one that's not taking the answers that people are giving you. So, like, you're the problem. So Connie storms out of the room, begins packing their things. Telling Flora that they can't be around her because she's too close-minded. Connie then says some really horrific things to Flora that I'm not going to repeat, but it's very, like, transphobic. And Flora at that point just steps aside and lets Connie leave. A few days later, Flora hasn't seen Connie, so she goes over to Alice's, assuming that Connie is likely to be there. Flora finds Alice in bed with a newborn, and she's like, why didn't you call me? And Alice is like, I assumed Connie would have told you that I had the baby. And Alice is like, or Flora's like, is Connie here? And Alice is like, no, they came over and demanded to watch me give birth. And when I said no, they were, like, creeping out the windows. And so Bodhi had to scare them off because they just wouldn't go home. But again, I assume that they would at some point and then tell you that I had the baby. Also, side note, Alice names her first baby Poppy because she grew her all her life. Aww. So Flora begins asking around town if anyone has seen Connie. Someone is like,
if it was a son, she would have named it Opie.
Sure. So, basically someone is like, Connie got on a boat and left the day that Alice gave birth. And
oh, thank God, we hated that kid.
Yeah,
that kid's gonna bring trouble.
We are now in present future Flora, which is now just going to be the timeline that we're in. And Flora tells us that was 12 years ago, and she has not seen Connie since. We are now at the day that the army will arrive. Any guesses on who the leader of said army is?
Connie.
Genghis Khani.
Yeah, Genghis Khani. Let's see. Flora says that Connie always let things build up until they explode. And that Connie was anything but subtle, so it does not surprise her that her only child decided to share their feelings with her via tanks. Flora is ready for her death today, but she's not ready for the end of Banbridge. The army arrives shortly after dawn. They fire the tank from the shore, but it lands in the water. Flora sees a small boat coming towards them, though, shortly after this tank has fired. So she sends for Alice. Alice comes, and hand in hand they walk towards the boat. The boat lands, two figures get out. One is young, and one is clearly elderly and struggling to get out of the boat. As they approach, Flora's very locked in on Connie, and she notices that they are much broader and taller. Also, Connie has a strip of red silk that they wear as their sash, so like around their face is how they're wearing it presently. Alice squeezes Flora's hand and makes a small sound out of her throat, and Flora looks over to her, and her eyes are fucking locked on the other person, and she looks like, what the fuck is happening? And then Flora follows Alice's gaze, and she sees that the other figure is Eddie. So Alice, like, fucking hustles and, like, grabs Eddie so hard that they almost, like, go down in the sand together. Flora begins crying and slowly walks over to Eddie, hugs him, but Connie is just like locked on Alice, like watching everything that Alice is doing. So let's see. So Flora thinks to herself that, like, at least Connie brought her the two things that she has lost and misses the most, and so that whatever happens today, she can die knowing that her heart is full. She knows that Connie and Eddie are alive and that they're okay, and she's like, well, at least I got to see, like, my two missing pieces, like, before I go. Connie instructs Eddie to tell them. Eddie puts his hand up to Flora's face and tells her that fragging is real, that he's seen it. There are islands in Alaska where there are frags.
Is true in the book?
Yes, there are women who reproduce by themselves, and generally speaking, maybe the first generation can still reproduce with men, but the second generation of a frag is just a frag. They can only reproduce on their own. But it is real. There is isolated islands in Alaska where this is in fact happening. So Flora's like, okay, cool, but why the fuck are you killing people over it? Like, okay, you wanted this to be real. Why the fuck are you killing everybody? Like, you found your answer. Why are you doing this?
Are they trying to force it? Like, to decimate the population even more so they evolve quicker?
Allegedly, but that...
I would just think that they are, sociopath.
Yeah. So Connie basically says that they need to make way for the frags, meaning that people like Flora, Eddie, and them cannot exist. They need to make space in the new world. And, like...
This is not the way Connie.
But, like, the world is fucking underpopulated, so make room for what? For why? Like, now, present day...
Does it not contradict Connie's, like, first goal of, like, we need to populate, don't we? We need to populate. How do we populate? Why is it, like...
Well, it's, whatever that, like...
This is the biggest I told you so, from Connie's point of view, this is the biggest I told you so moment ever.
Altruistic philanthropism, or philanthropic altruism, like, yes, this thing can totally happen if we force it.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, we it could happen by itself in X amount of time, but divide that time by 10 by making things awful now.
Right.
And it'll happen faster.
Exactly. And, like, it does make sense to, like, make room by, like, removing people who are intolerant and not allowing these things to happen, but it doesn't make sense to eliminate people who are like, okay, cool, life goes on, like, cool, something new's happening, that's fine, and then just moving on with their day, right? Like, Alice also basically just goes, there's empty cities everywhere. Why the fuck do you need to make room? Pick a city. I don't give a shit. Like, nobody is trying to stop progress from happening. And if someone is directly trying to stop progress from happening, handle that. But, like, people are just trying to live their lives. Like, and also there are fucking houses everywhere. Just pick one. Like, what do you mean make room? And so, let's see. Also, they don't need someone to try to remake the world into how they think it should be, telling Connie that they are just another little lion man. Connie very smugly says there never was a lion. You guys just made that up to make yourself feel like heroes. Because again, God forbid Connie's wrong. So Flora tells Connie, like, okay, cool, just kill it and be done with it. Like, this is very clearly just your fucking petty revenge. Just fucking kill me and be over it. And then they say that they don't give a shit about Flora. They're not here for Flora. They're here for Alice. Which, babe, you are lying to yourself, okay? Because they say that they're not here for Flora. They don't give a shit about Flora. They're just here to pick up Alice. And then they later on go on to say that the only reason they brought Eddie was to kill Eddie in front of Flora to hurt her one last time before they kill her. So it's like, baby, I'm not here for you. But it's like, yo, you just picked up a whole other human to, like, come and fucking stick it to her. What do you mean? Like,
Please tell me someone puts down Connie.
You're ugly anyway. I wasn't trying to pick you up.
Right. So anyways, Connie is there to get Alice because he's going to take Alice to the frag so that they can teach her how to be a frag. And then Alice is like, dude, I am entirely too old to fucking reproduce anymore. Like, what are you talking about? Like, baby, what? But
what is you doing, baby?
Right. So Alice is like, are you going to explain this to me and then give me a choice in the matter? Like, or are you just gonna fucking take me? And Connie's like, I'm gonna take you. Like, I don't know that I'm gonna give you a choice, but like, okay, we can sit down and have a conversation about it first. That's fine. But like, I don't know that there's a end where you aren't coming with me. And I kept misgendering Connie, and I'm like, it's because the behavior is so fucking man-coded.
I know, because like, you haven't updated yet. I'm like, did Connie take the identity of a man now? Because it's giving man behavior.
It sure is. And
sorry,
like...
Nick.
I agree.
And like, Alice absolutely basically says that. Like, all you did was become a man. Like, that's all you've done. Like, but anyway, so, they hold out their arm. Alice takes their arm and they begin walking off towards her house. Flora and Eddie are trailing behind. Flora very quietly asks if the army has enough leadership amongst it to exist without Connie. And Eddie just looks at her and goes, can you exist without Connie? Like, we can have that conversation, but like, can you even fucking pull the trigger, like, right now, you know? And so once they get into the house, Alice tells Connie, once they get to Alice's house, Connie tells them that he only brought Eddie to kill Eddie in front of Flora. Eddie, quite literally, direct quote, says, shut the fuck up and do it already. I always knew you were a fucking coward. Like, cool, you brought me all this way to stick it to Flora? Like, why am I still alive then, bro? Like, fucking kill me. What are you talking about? Like, Eddie's just like, I'm too old for this fucking shit right now.
I do like Eddie this book.
Yeah, I think Eddie found his people and where he needed to end up, and like, I can definitely understand just sort of the hatred and anger towards the world, because it's not, like, you can't find your place in the world, and so you're just fucking mad about it. Like, I do understand that, you know, and we came to a good spot, just, he's still very frustrating. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. So...
They're in the house.
Yep, I know.
Sorry, I'm like...
No, you're good. I'm just like, some of this I kind of jumped out of order. Oh, but basically Connie's done this to show Flora that Flora means nothing to them. That Flora means so little that they wanted to torture her before killing her, which is like, baby, you know hate is a care, right? Like, if you do a hate, you do a care. Just, what is happening? So anyways, she tells them that seeing their face again was grief enough and that they didn't need to go through all the trouble of bringing Eddie along. Basically, like, you hurt me enough just by having your face here. Like, you didn't need to stick it to me in this way. But they tell our trio that none of them ever loved them to begin with, that the trio never understood them. But Alice disagrees, telling Connie that they couldn't love themselves. Like, it wasn't that we couldn't love you, you wouldn't let us, you couldn't love yourself. And that's why you're doing all of this. That you were just taking your own pain and spreading it out because you couldn't figure out how to love and be loved. Basically telling Connie you did nothing but become a man. At this point, Connie fully backhands her to the floor, and then immediately says, "I'm sorry, I just can't control it sometimes." So again,
I'll never do it again, baby.
How very man-coded of you, baby. And then let's see. She tells them that she's had worse before. And then basically says, like, well, you got us all here together. Can I at least serve everybody fucking tea before you kill my best friends?
I'm waiting for Alice to just slip the poison tea.
So, basically, before you take my oldest friends, can we all just sit down and have a cup of tea? Flora thinks to herself that Connie is nothing but skinless pain. And then, let's see. At this point, tea is served. Everyone has a little sippy sip. There's a knock at the door. One of the other council members has arrived and said that the plan has worked, that the army from Settle has arrived behind Connie's forces. They convinced the forces that Connie was dead, and they have killed and or disbanded the rest of the army. Basically, like, the day is saved, the plan worked. And Connie is fucking enraged at this point and is like, "You're fucking lying. My army would never fucking do that. Like, and if an army came and destroyed them, I would have heard it." Like, so Connie's having a whole fucking meltdown, and Flora just pulls her gun, the unnamed gun, and Eddie sees the gun and smiles and goes, "We have come full circle."
It wasn't poison tea.
And then Alice says, "You don't need that, Flora. My weapon worked already." And then
Alice, my girl.
Yeah, Connie collapses. Alice holds them as they die, and Flora thinks that Alice midwifes them from this world. So basically, like, Alice sits and, like, is the midwife to Connie leaving the mortal coil, and they all lived happily ever after. They go see the Frags. They learn about them, type of thing. The band is back together, and the end.
Yay! Also, fuck Connie. Why?
I'm glad there was happy ending.
Yeah.
You gotta read more of those.
Happy endings?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, there's a lot of turmoil to get there.
Yeah. It was a lot of pain and suffering, but we got there in the end.
A whole lot of less essay in this book, and it's just more about, like, gender identity and stuff, which is, like a welcome switch.
Yes.
It's much different than I'm glad it wasn't as brutal as the second book. From what you've explained, it could be brutal. I haven't read it, but
yeah, there is no, like, direct, like, essay or brutality that's, like, taking place in this one, obviously, except, like, selling children. But no, for the most part, it was just them just trying to find their, like, new start type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I just, world tour.
Yeah, world tour.
Yeah.
I just can't believe the grudge you have to hold for that long.
Oh, and what this, as I was rereading this, I realized that back in the first book, Eddie is talking about how crazy it is that they just let the Lion's Men abduct babies and women, saying that, like, children belong to everybody. It's your responsibility to protect them as a society. And Flora says they've wiped out entire cities because they refuse to give up one woman. Like, that's a huge price to pay for one person. And Eddie said, "Wouldn't you pay that price for your own child?" And Flora said, "Well, I'm never going to be a mother, so it doesn't matter." But Flora quite literally sacrificed her child to save the city. So we know that Flora absolutely would pay that price if she had to.
Yeah.
But yeah. And, like, as they were preparing, Alice and Flora, like, took all of, like, the diaries and the journals and, like, Alice packaged up like all of her like knowledge and learning, and they wrapped them all in wax and like buried them, and they're like, let him burn the fucking city, but like let our knowledge survive. And Alice is like, we can find it again, it's fine, like let them burn the city like they did to Nowhere. At least we're not going to be starting from like scratch, like we at least have all of our knowledge preserved. But yeah, they didn't matter, it was fine, everything worked out.
Yay.
So yeah, I wrote down, I thought it was weird that Alma could see like the real Eddie, but couldn't see like Flora for who they were. But then like the whole like kind of turn happened, and I thought that was just strange. But I thought there would become something else. Something else would become of it. Like maybe by the end, Flora would realize that they would be happier if they were like raised as a man or something. That's why Alma didn't recognize them. But I think I was just thinking too far into things.
Yeah, I think you were probably just thinking too far into things. Also, I will just kind of say that, like, as a woo-woo lady, I do think that, like, kind of the gift of prophecy is, like, a thing that people can do, right? Like, even if we just want to boil it down to the basis of, like, pattern recognition, like, it would make sense for just a normal average person to, like, be able to predict things.
Well, even, like, if you want to go into the woo-woo route where, like, almost like, I don't know your name, so I can't place you. If that's a true thing, Flora didn't know her name.
Yeah,
her original name.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And she kept the name of the person who named her.
Yeah, because while the King of Florida, who apparently the King of Florida is just always named Florida. But anyways, so
Hybern.
Yeah, exactly. He names Flora that because, you know, she's a fighter and she's a survivor and she's got the gusto, and so do I, so like she should be named after me. But also he tells Archie that Flora used to mean like beauty, and that would also be a good name for her too. So that was like part of it, right? But also it seems like the King of Florida could just very visibly see that she was a girl the whole time, right? So and even though Archie would belittle her, he still very clearly, and he took care of her to an extent of like, sure, he would loan her out, but like they weren't allowed to leave any visible damage on her type of thing. So he cared enough about her to protect her to some extent, you know?
Good for him.
Right, it's like the bare fucking minimum.
Cared little enough.
Yeah. Like he at least saw her valuable to some degree, you know?
In my brain, it's like, don't break my toy.
Yeah. And yeah.
So cared little enough.
I know.
To at least like.
I know.
Like,
I'm not in any.
No. Yeah. No. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
absolutely.
Let's change the verbiage on that.
No, I know.
No. You're good.
I understand. No, and I fully agree. It's just, yeah. But she had a rough start, obviously.
I stand Flora.
I do too.
The small encampments of progressive thinking all around the country being overrun by an oppressive, dominating regime just kind of remind me of like Native American settlements and the growing
colonization.
Yeah, America's back, baby.
Baby.
And the last thing I wanted to say was a ship full of books, but like journals and stuff. Reminded me of the movie The Book of Eli, where Denzel Washington is just kind of carrying around a book the whole time. Gary Oldman is like, whatever's in that book can like help rebuild. It's post-apocalyptic. That book can help like rebuild society. So give it to me. No. Fight, shoot. Blah blah blah. The book finally makes it to Alcatraz because they have turned it into a library, which is in San Francisco Bay, which is where my mind was going. They were trying to go to San Francisco. Is Alcatraz now a library?
So I have to assume that Settle is Seattle.
Yes.
I have to assume that. And I know that they are very close to Settle because the reason that they ended up on Bainbridge Island is it was winter and they were really struggling to just being on the water. They've been on the water for entirely too long. It's not really feasible for them to continue that way. And as they get up to Settle and they're about to like disembark and like, okay, the next city we see, we're just gonna get off the boat, and if it's hostile, then we will grab the provisions we need and find somewhere else, but we need to at minimum get off the boat and get provisions. But as they come up to settle, they see a bunch of signs saying like pox, like don't, like basically like pox, measles, like they were having a full-on plague epidemic there, and at least Settle was friendly enough to put up signs telling people, do not fucking stop here, like we are fucking sick, do not come ashore, basically. So they see the signs and they're like, shit, okay, well, I guess we're stopping at the next settlement. And then they came across Bainbridge, which was very close.
See, I was thinking it was Cambridge, but that's all the way in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they went so far west.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they were looking for San Francisco Bay, which they had to have been incredibly close to when they did come across the librarians on Alexandria.
I thought they were in Daytona.
They were in Daytona at one point.
They were in Daytona, and then they came around through the Gulf. They were going south and then west.
I know Eddie left, so I thought they just continued on from there.
I mean, you have to remember, I cut out huge chunks.
Right, but as far as I was aware, I just picture like Eddie, like their final episode, and now it's the Flora and Alice
they
show.
were very close to the Bay of the Midwife when they found that ship, but they like sailed because as they were coming down and around through the Gulf, he said that there is like a river or something running through the land that they were going to come up to, and Bodhi was basically like, sometimes it's dry and sometimes it's not, and if it's dry we're going to have to go way south to get around, but like there is a path through here.
So Panama Canal?
Probably. And so they went through that, and then they came out the other side, so.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that Eddie left on the ship, leaving everyone else with their like little Bodhi boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that is what happened, but it wasn't like right after Tona that they did that. It was like months and months later.
And you're telling it was, but if there was stuff in between,
Yes.
then I understand. I
Yeah.
didn't know how they got from one place to the other.
I cut out huge chunks of stuff, obviously, because I'm a little long-winded. But
You just a storyteller.
I know. I did want to like touch on each place that they stopped and actually spent time in, just because, again, like my favorite part of the book was that it's kind of like Fallout, and that like just each civilization is like set up differently.
Trying to guess where each place is at.
Also, yes. Also, when they stopped in Tona, Flora asked who the King of Florida was, and he gives them the name, and then say, basically like leading for 14 years, long may she reign. So the King of Florida is a woman.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
The King of Florida was, so they said, who's the King of Florida currently, and he gives them the name and then says, long may she reign.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I was focusing on the 14 years.
But yeah, which would also explain why slavery is outlawed in Florida. If the leader's a woman, that makes sense. But it seems like, generally speaking, the people of Florida are pleased with her governance.
If women could start reproducing on their own now I'm picturing a Why the Last Man scenario. Just, I mean, not that a virus will wipe out the rest of humanity, but
Because they're pretty.
any men that are left, we don't need you anymore.
I mean,
We need them because they're pretty.
yeah.
Yeah, but if they're also shitty.
Well, if they're shitty, we don't keep the shitty ones.
Yeah.
That's like we won't keep the shitty women either.
Correct.
We don't keep shitty people.
Oh, also at the end, there's like this point where like they're in the house, and then Connie goes, "It's now time for all the mistakes to die," and Flora goes, "You too?" Like,
Got her ass. Got their ass.
yeah, it's like, okay,
I can't believe they paid opium for that kid.
that's true. Yeah. Just hurt people.
Yeah, I heard people do
Like
hurt
on
people.
steroids.
Literally, like it's the
On
biggest I
testosterone.
told you so, like ever.
Yeah.
Grudge of grudges.
True that. But yeah, so that was the road to nowhere. And I think I'm just really enjoying doing series a lot. I do plan on doing like another fantasy series next year, just as like my magnum opus.
It's okay. I'll be doing the Crescent City series at some point. So.
I'm excited for you to do those.
It's gonna be a long.
I love Bryce so much. Like, those books don't take them seriously. Like, don't go, like, obviously, I would say don't really take any of them seriously, but Crescent City especially. I mean, she said it was just kind of like a passion project for her anyways, and she didn't necessarily intend to publish them, and yeah, it feels like that. But, you know, it's fun. It's a fun...
with that.
Also, like, again, Queen Moss, like, the fucking last third of her book is the only, like... the last 100 pages, she really, like, stepped her pussy up on that one. Like, because the end of each of those books is so fucking epic, especially the first one. Because, again, dragged my ass through that book, and I'm like, I want to see where this goes, but, like, I'm not necessarily enjoying the journey. Except Lahaba. We stand Lahaba.
Get back to you on that.
You will. I am Lahaba. My friends are with me. I am not afraid.
Well, that's where the quote comes from.
It's also a riff from another book, but yeah.
Send us out, Nick.
Ah, jeez, wow.
Sing us the song of your people. The LARPers.
The LARPers!
On the 1st of May, Military Appreciation Month starts that day. So when June's Pride Month gets here, don't get mad at the gays.
Is May... is May really Military Appreciation?
Yeah, I think Memorial Day.
Oh.
Well, the entire month, but then June comes around and Pride Month. What about God Month or Military Appreciation Month?
Hey,
you mean May, the month that just passed?
I'm like,
Shows
God
how much you
month
pay
is on
attention.
you.
Yeah, Nick.
God month is on
And
you.
I think November is like Service People's Family Day or something. I did not write a song
know
for
it's
them.
like Men's Health Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talking about buttholes.
Bye!
Bye!
Battle of the Mustaches. Bye!